This is Lori Charlton. It's September 25th, 2025. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Board of Finance Capital Planning Workshop. Call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the rain. So before we kick off tonight's workshop, I want to acknowledge the first selectman, Ms. Vitale, our newly appointed selectman, Marcy Spolier. Congratulations. Thank you. Superintendent Mike Testani, Board of Education, and RTM officials who've joined us this evening. Thank you all for being here. The RTM and Board of Ed elected officials, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Peter Britton, District 1.
Liz Esma, District 4.
Bob Ellinger, District 3.
Jeff Peterson, Board of Ed Chair.
Thank you and welcome. All right, to the members of the public, tonight we'll hear a presentation on the town's 10-year capital plan, which includes the town, Fairfield Public Schools, and the WPCA, which is the separate taxing authority that manages the town's sewer infrastructure and operations. We will not plan to take live public comment this evening, but you are encouraged to provide comments at any time to the board, and you can do so via the town website by navigating to the Board of Finance page and clicking on Contact the Board. As always, there'll be an opportunity for live public comment in the future when capital projects come before the board for a vote. Also, for the benefit of the public, a key objective for this board in terms of this meeting is to understand the annual financial impact of the capital plan in its entirety and how the financing for the proposed projects in the plan will impact debt service payments in the town's budget in future years. We do this so that when projects ultimately come forth for approval, we can evaluate each of the projects on their individual merits while already having established the budgetary impact and determined whether projects fit within the town's bonding and debt service policies. Aside from our focus on financial aspects, we'll hear about the town's process for developing the plan, the key financial assumptions, the basis for the cost estimates, and the planned funding sources, specifically for WPCA projects, which may be fully or partially funded through sewer taxes. To be clear, we're not voting on the plan or any project within it this evening. The inclusion of a project in this plan doesn't mean the project is or will be approved. It's simply an indication that at this point in time, the administration intends to put these project requests forward in the future. So as a result of that, our intention is not to take a deep dive into any particular project. We'll do that at the time the projects come back for a vote. With that being said, this meeting does provide an opportunity for our elected officials to raise concerns about any project they may have or ask for additional information so that the project sponsors have an opportunity to be prepared when they come back. With that said, we'll plan to move to the discussion items in the following order. First, Selectman Vitale, CFO Tom Harris, our capital projects manager Eli Gazal. Whoever wants to lead this will take us through a presentation on the process that was undertaken to put the capital plan together and its key highlights. We'll then open up for Q&A on the presentation, and we'll move into an overview and Q&A projects on the town side with the department heads. Then we'll move to the WPCA for an overview of sewer projects and their funding proposal with Michelle Gordon, the general manager of the WPCF. Then the superintendent and Board of Ed representatives will provide a similar overview, and we can have Q&A on their capital plan. In all cases, we'll look at the plan, the 10-year plan holistically, but it would be especially helpful to focus on changes or new items since the last iteration we reviewed this past February, and also focus on fiscal 26 projects, meaning those that are expected to come before this body for approval this year. So given that order of presentations, I'll just ask in advance for the board and our elected officials that we reserve our questions until the presenters have had an opportunity to walk through their materials. So for example, if we have questions on a Board of Ed project, let's hold off on those until after the Board of Ed reps give their overview. Before I turn it over, I want to thank all the town leaders, the department heads, the finance team, the capital projects team, the Board of Education, and the WPCA commissioners who provided input to the plan and the presentation for this evening. I know it's a major undertaking and a critically important one. Lastly, I just want to take a few moments to acknowledge our late first selectman, Bill Gerber. It's been a little more than 2 months since Bill's passing, and I didn't take the opportunity to acknowledge him at our last meeting, which was our first since we lost him, and I feel horrible for not doing that. But in a way, I think this is an even better evening in which to remember Bill, because this topic, capital planning, and its impact on our collective vision for the town's future, was an area that he was incredibly passionate about. When Bill first took office, I asked to meet with him and give him some feedback from our board and some personal feedback about the various frustrations and shortcomings in our capital planning process. At that time, we had no comprehensive tracking mechanisms of our authorized projects. We had shortened the planning window from 10 years to 5 years. We didn't have reliable cash flow forecasting. We had been plagued with bad project cost estimates that seemed to double and triple when they came up for approval. We had no financial plan for the WPCA that would incorporate what needed to be done with our sewer infrastructure and keep that entity solvent, or a plan that laid out how we'd be able to finance the school infrastructure projects on the horizon. So I went into that meeting with Bill, armed with this pile of issues and recommendations and sample spreadsheets of the data we needed, and I kind of dumped it on him and the team. And he did not throw me out of his office. He, in typical Bill fashion, he said, "Thank you, this is awesome." And he provided the leadership to address all those issues by assigning resources, investing in talent, reorganizing the team, and rolling up his own sleeves. So this is still a fluid process, and of course, it's not perfect, but in my opinion, it's night and day from that starting point 2 years ago. I know that Bill would be thankful and proud of the team's work. I'm thankful for him. And if you'd all join me, I'd just like to take this time to honor his memory with a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. For the presentation, Ms. Vitale, do you want to kick off? Or Eli? Up to you. Look at the tag team.
Hi, everybody. Christine Vitelli, First Selectman. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're excited to have the discussion. Tonight's meeting is the culmination of years of work, as Ms. Charlton shared. In approaching this capital plan, we took a holistic approach to the town, looking at the needs of our town buildings, our fire stations, our WPCA, and of course, the many school projects that are from their waterfall that flowed into the town's waterfall. The waterfall, as we belovedly call it, provides a framework for long-term planning and investment. It outlines strategic goals and priorities across all town departments. Our department heads work closely with our capital planning team and informed the projects that are on the list tonight. This also, looking to the future, meets the community's needs both for today and for over the next 10 years. We're looking at investment in our sewer system, our schools, and our streets, and not only planning for what's coming down the pike over the next fiscal year, which is which is of course going to be a priority, but also looking ahead as our community continues to grow and we react to changes in the environment, building a more resilient downtown, and of course, moving forward for Selectman Gerber's passion, safe streets, and building a bustling downtown that attracts businesses and builds community. Our capital planning process, just some of the things, a little broad overview of what we're looking at. We're looking at town buildings, their maintenance and their renovation costs. We're looking at 9 bridge reconstructions, 7 culvert and tie gate reconstructions, 7 WPCA pump station replacement, 6 playground replacements, complete streets, looking at some projects along South Vista Road and Reading Road, White Elementary School construction, Jennings Elementary School construction. And when we're talking about our town buildings, those encompass not only our police and fire station, but our mansion, the DPW garage, senior center, and Old Town Hall, as well as Independence Hall. So it's very much a comprehensive look. We have competing needs across the town. And this discussion tonight will help us inform decision-making moving forward. As you all know, we've invested a lot of money in a number of plans to help us get better numbers on our capital projects. And these are just some of the plans that also inform the capital waterfall. The Beta paving and sidewalk plan, the townwide facility audit plan, the Parks and Recreation master plan, the Board of Education long-range facilities plan, the Spiegel's school feasibility plan, the WPCA facilities plan, the WPCA I&I study, the master flood and erosion plan, the safety action plan. I believe that if we're going to make the investment and having these plans, we need to put these plans into action. Also very cognizant over the last year of not planning in silos. In the past, we very often we're putting forward one initiatives and not necessarily taking into account the impact that might have on other critical needs. I appreciate all the work that has been done by the team in putting the plan before you tonight. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to our CFO.
Thank you. I'm going to speak briefly to the financial scope of the plan, the current plan, the financial changes from the current plan to the last plan, which was presented to you in February. I'm going to talk a little bit about the assumptions that we used to build the plan and the financial impact on the debt. And then Eli will talk in more detail about some of the changes to the plan, and department heads can discuss the projects that they're working on in their departments. In terms of the current financial plan, we have projects that will require $492.5 million of funding over the next 10 years. It's split amongst the Board of Education, the town, and WPCA. As you can see from the chart, the Board of Ed is about 45%. And the remainder split pretty evenly between the town and WPCA. But within WPCA, about 41 million of funding comes from the town based on the, I guess it's a draft funding policy that we have in place right now. The policy has been reviewed by their commission, but it is yet to be approved by the commission and the Board of Finance. There's also, outside of the funding policy, there is about $15 million of funding related to East Trunk, which sort of came into being before the draft funding policy was put into place. In terms of the current plan versus the plan that was presented in February, there's about a $81 million net reduction in the plan. That's due in large part to projects that were shifted outside of the cycle of the current plan. That's about $92 million. We bonded $45.3 million of projects in June, and we've added 56.7 million project cost, which Eli will and the team will discuss in more detail later. In terms of the major assumptions, obviously interest cost is a significant consideration. And the assumption is that interest costs will be 3.75% the first year and 3.5% each year thereafter. This is information that was provided by our bond advisors. As a point of reference, when we bonded in June, the effective rate was 3.6%. Coupon rate was, I think, around 5%. And the difference is due to the fact that we received a premium when we did the issue. We've assumed that the ratio of debt service to budgeted spending will be less than 10% or less throughout the period. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. The budget assumption is that it will grow about 3.8% each year. In the past, I think we've used an average of the past 5 years. That average is about 3.89%. So the rate we're using is a little less than that. If you look at the median rate budget increase over the past 10 years, it's about 3.6%. So I think we're comfortable with the rate that we're using. We have in each of the projects have a contingency of about 10%. There's an escalator of an additional 5% a year. And that really is sort of a risk mitigation factor. When you consider that combined with the fact that as we look at this plan, we will be under the 10% cap each year. So that is intended to address uncertainties, whether it's market volatility, supply chain issues, or other issues that we may have. Other important assumption is the funding policy, which we mentioned. And basically, there are 3 components of it that impact this plan. And I think Michelle can talk a little bit more about this when she speaks. One allocation factor is that if there's a project that is necessary, is non-routine, addresses non-routine issues, there's a 75-25 split. And of the total capital spending, about $28 million of capital was allocated on that basis. And there's a 50-50 split, which means that, it doesn't economic benefit to the town as well as a benefit to WPCA. That's about $45 million of the capital spending. And the remainder is just routine upgrades, which WPCA would fund 100%. That's about $51 million. And as I said, there's an additional $15 million that relates to the East Trunk project. In terms of the impact on debt, if we look at the ratio of debt service, in debt services, that's the annual payments for debt and interest. Assuming that we're going to be bonding the projects that are in this plan, we remain under the 10% each year. The cap is almost 8.9% in 2031. And then the rate begins to drop, primarily because of the amortization of the debt. And then, of course, the assumed budget is increasing each year. So that's kind of a summary of how we built the financial plan. And Eli will talk a little bit about the projects that are in the plan, as well as the process that was used to.
All right, so information. Charlton, could we get a copy of this plan? Usually we'd have it while we're going through it so we can make notes on it. And also now we've stopped getting this stuff in advance.
Yep,
So-
we'll get this, we'll circulate it to everyone.
Yep.
Okay.
It'd be nice, Tom, just to keep in mind, if we could follow along with you, it allows us to take notes. And
Sure,
if we have
yeah.
a question for you.
No debate.
We're not used to not getting it in advance, so I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
And we're gonna, if we have questions on the presentation, though, we'll hold them till the end, but did you?
And something, can we also get the comparative numbers year over year would be helpful?
They're in the package. The comparison to the last plan,
Yes.
or they're in-
It's in there.
there's a section that will go, yeah, it's a comparison to the plan we reviewed in February. Go ahead, Melissa.
So on the screen here is a breakdown of future capital projects. We broke it out between the town, Board of Ed and WPCA, just to really highlight where the capital plan money is going. So on the town side, on the left there, you see the majority is in infrastructure, and infrastructure is roads, bridges, sidewalks, culverts, sewer lines. 30% of the capital improvements, that's upgrades and renovations to town buildings and facilities. And then you have capital equipment, which is usually DPW equipment, fire trucks, and so on. On the Board of Ed side, you have 97% of capital improvements, just because they're renovating schools, so that's the majority of that. And a little bit of infrastructure between turf fields and paving. In WPCA, you have a breakdown of 80% is in infrastructure, sewer lines and replacing of pump stations, and then capital improvements, which focuses specifically on the WPCA plant itself. Just a little bit of a highlight as to what some major changes in this year's plan is, just to add on to what Tom was saying. So on the town side, there's 6 bullet points up there. These are the major changes. Adaptive Rec Center renovation, we received a grant on that, so there was a significant reduction in project costs. The DPW 5-year equipment plan was added, and we got updated project costs on that. Townwide facility audit, we refined the plan for efficiency. We're working with James Ryan to make sure that we are not duplicating work of plans that is on the facility audit that we plan on doing in any other project. So we refined the plan for that. The police department equipment, that is a new project on the town side that was added to this year's capital plan. You'll also see in the capital plan a column that is highlighted in blue. Those are projects that we've moved out because they're just right now too grand for the town to handle on its own. And we need significant federal and state dollars to be able to make those projects feasible. So what we did, instead of moving them out every year, we just added them to the blue column, which is outside of the 10-year plan. And also we added escalation costs for future projects within the town. On the Board of Ed side, you have Dwight Elementary School new build in ECC. We received updated numbers on that project based off of the Spiegel's facility report. Jennings Elementary School renovation, we received updated project costs on that, as well as Osborne. There's a new turf field at Ward High School and received updated project costs. School vestibules, some school vestibules were added and some of them we received updated project costs. So you'll see that in the plan, as well as added escalation costs for any future projects. And the majority of the WPCA changes were escalation for future projects. Just to talk a little bit about the capital planning process and how we get here every year. So we ask all the department heads to send in their requests for new projects, send in their requests for project changes or anything like that. We kind of created a standardized template to capture the scope and the budget and the timeline and justification for each. We review them. We are having monthly meetings with each department head, one-on-one, just to kind of talk about project updates, milestones. During these projects, during these meetings, we talk about spending, some of the challenges, if there's any issues with permits, if we're forecasting that we're going to be over budget, we take that all into consideration. Then we go back and then Sabrina and I will go into the spreadsheet, which is in front of you guys, update the numbers, provide comments. And then finally, we meet with the First Selectman's office to review projects and then they set the goals of the administration with the projects that are in front of you. So you're probably asking yourself how this process has helped. Helped in a significant way. By meeting with each department head on a monthly basis, we are really able to analyze where each project is going. We're looking at things like project cash flows, schedules, how much has been spent to date. If there's any change orders that are out there on any of the authorized projects. This helps us analyze the budget amount for each project and its accuracy. In addition, with consultants' feedback, there's consultants have essentially a business development office typically. And these folks are just go around on the internet searching for cities and towns' capital plans. And so I've received multiple consultants giving me calls saying that they're impressed with our capital plan. And, you know, they want to be part of the town. They want to know what the upcoming work is. So it's a huge relationship building when you're up there up front with consultants, and it's good that consultants want to work for the town. We have had a big push and emphasis with the department heads on being able to move forward projects that have been authorized by the boards already. So on the screen, you see the total cost of the projects that have been authorized by the town, by the boards, divided up between town, Board of Ed, and WPCA. Town has approximately $111 million out there. Board of Ed has $105 million, and then WPCA has $76 million. Just because they're authorized does not mean that we have bonded them to date. So this is a graph here that shows how much of the money has been bonded and how much of it has not yet been bonded. And then overall, so we're a little bit under, we bonded a little bit over 50% of the authorized projects. And that is mostly based on the cash flows that we work with each department to make sure that we're only bonding the money that we actually need and will actually be spending. So I just wanted to briefly touch base on the status of authorized projects. This comes up all the time. I think, you know, with the big push to get authorized projects out there. So on the town side, I divided it up amongst construction, design, and other essentially equipment purchases. So we have 13 projects currently on the town side that are in construction that are over 50% complete. 9 of them are under projects in design, which is the biggest category there. You have 18 projects that are under 50%, and then you have 14 projects that are over 50%. Once those projects finish design, they'll move over to the construction circle when they're ready. And then for equipment purchases, there are 13 of them that are over 50% complete, which means that based off of whatever schedule that we anticipate the equipment coming in, it's over 50. For the Board of Ed, projects in construction, they have 17, which are over 50% complete. The Board of Ed mostly does a lot of their projects in the summer. So this graph accurately represents that, with 3 of them being under 50%. And then projects in design, they have 1 that is over 50%. On the WPCA side of things, projects that are in construction, you have 2 that are over 50% and 1 of them that is under 50%. Projects are in design. This is where the significant amount of projects live within WPCA, with 6 of the projects being in design phase under 50%. And then of course, 1 other capital purchase, which is under 50%. So just giving you a little bit of highlight as to what's to come, what some major projects are coming and what's in progress. So we kicked off the East Trunk Line that's currently in construction, the Commerce Drive Bridge between the old Infiniti dealership and the Range Rover dealership that is in construction. They actively started demoing the bridge there. The Adaptive Rec Center That's in design phase right now. The air conditioning's at the schools in construction. Fairfield Beach Pump Station and Center Street Pump Station at the WPCA, those are in design. And then the police department renovations are also in design. These are just the major projects. There's a lot more that are on the plan, but I just wanted to highlight some of the bigger ones. Some upcoming projects, Rooster River will enter its construction phase. We plan on going out to bid on that in the next month or so. That project has already been authorized by the boards. Of course, we're paving and we're doing sidewalks with the DPW. Dwight Elementary School and the ECC, that's an upcoming project. That's on the capital plan that'll enter design. School vestibule will enter design. WPCA facility upgrades, that's already been authorized. That'll enter design. We hope to get a contract in front of the Board of Selectmen within the next month or so. And of course, you have the Phil Pyle and the WPCA NOV, which are upcoming. No exact timeline. So I just wanted to keep, just high level, give you an update as to where the projects are and what's to come. And that concludes the presentation. Just a quick thank you to all the department heads for their help in creating this, Board of Ed, Public Schools, and of course, WPCA. For the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're gonna walk through the plan at a high level, but before we do that, are there questions from the board on this presentation? Mr. Wall?
Yeah, can you, Tom, I think you addressed it. You said there's a 5% escalator.
Yes.
And one of you or both of you address why it's 5%, why it includes every single project throughout the town. And is that a real number? Because we've seen dramatic changes in numbers in regards to WPCA projects. Where they've been 100% off. And I want to know why we wouldn't be using a higher escalator, because we've been so far off for so many years. You're feeling really good with that 5% escalator, right? So we can base that upon your professional experience, if that's what we're going to be seeing.
At this point in time, that is the best number that we put into the plan. It's a 5%. It's, usually in construction estimates, you have a 10% contingency and a 5% escalation per year. So that 5% is per year. And that at this moment in time is the best percent that we anticipate.
Did you speak to anybody about that number from across all SWATs, or people who do building projects for schools, the WPCA vendors that we use, whether 5% will hold, and also on town project?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you guys. It's tough to pick a number as to what escalation is going to be, right? With the tariffs that are out there, with supply chain issues, there's not a lot of state work happening right now. So that means the contractors could be freeing up, which could give us better numbers in the bid process. So selecting a number, whether it's 5%, 6%, 7%, 3%, it's a tough call, but we believe at right now, 5%.
Yeah, I would also, Jim, and this is, this is sort of a living document, and this is something that, we need to look at, we will look at on an ongoing basis. When we see that there's a need to change, then we'll make a change and we'll come back and inform.
Will that be a?
But at this point,
Like we do a WPCA project and we compare about what the numbers were a year or two ago. They were off by, say it was 2 years ago. The number was off by more than 10%. Does that mean globally, you're going to go in under WPCA and say, it was actually up 25%. So now we're going to start applying a 25% escalator the next time we're before the Board of Finance.
again, I guess I would clarify one thing. I think in the case of WPCA, there may be contingencies that are a little higher than 10% for some of the projects. But I think, again,
That was 5%.
I think it's 5% for the escalator, 10% for contingency. So,
Are we really looking that it's going to be costing us 15% more?
well, again, that's we don't, hopefully not, but that's to mitigate from risks that we don't know about. When we look at the budget for the projects and we add on an additional amount because there are risks. There are uncertainties for, market volatility, tariffs. a whole bunch of things that we don't know. Like you say, we don't know what the cost is going to be 6 months from now. So it's something that we look at on an ongoing basis, and we'll adjust when we see the need to adjust. But right now, this is our best guess.
Can I follow up just to address Mr. Walsh's concern? Because I think that our historical issue has not been so much that we had escalation too low, but the base number was not well developed. So I think, and if I'm speaking out of turn, correct me, but I think a lot of the work you've done, and part of the reason for getting all these design plans in place first is to get the base number right first. And then the escalator will account for inflation and the contingency will account for uncertainty. Dwight School being a good example, right? We spent money to go out and get, hopefully more reliable estimates. And we've done that in a number of instances. And I think possibly in the last iteration, I know we made a lot of changes to the base numbers. Is that fair?
That's correct. Yeah, and the 5% is just an escalation factor. So if we have a high risk project builds, typically the construction project will carry 10% contingency. That's the standard across the board. If there's high risk in the project, then it will have more than 10% of contingency outside of escalation.
But in the budgets that we've developed already for the projects, have we already burned through the 10%? We already burned through that 10% contingency because prices are higher than what we approved money for. Because if we need to know that as a board.
In each project cost?
So the
Sorry,
are you talking about authorized projects?
Yeah, authorized project.
So in other words, we have, one of the newer things that was added to this plan over the last year or so is we have a detailed summary of all the authorized projects and where they stand, right? So this is what you're monitoring in your monthly meetings?
That's
So
exactly.
that's, okay.
Yeah. As of right now, we don't have authorized projects that exceeded the contingency number that's already built into the project.
Right. And then have any of the numbers, any of the projects globally on all three sections, have they been reduced at all? Because we now know that we can take off for what your department does. So we don't need project managers because you guys are doing the project management, right? So did you guys go through and deduct those amounts from authorized projects? Because we authorize a certain amount in all those projects before your group was formed. We built in an amount for project managers, and sometimes double levels of that. Have you gone through now, since we are the town taxpayers are paying with your department, and reduced those?
So we have not gone back and reduced them, but what I could tell you is we are bonding based off of cash flows. So if we see a project that is going to be under budget, we are not bonding the money that we don't necessarily need. So we are returning money back into the unbonded section of this capital plan.
So what I'm trying to understand, Eli, is number one, Tom, if we can get the total, I don't need it tonight, obviously, the next couple of weeks, I would like to know the total cost of their department, all in, every single cost, healthcare, everything. They're tired of it. I want to see where the savings are. So I want to see, you're now talking about that we're going to bond that. Well, how am I going to measure that? How am I going to know whether your department, whether it was a success that was sold to us or not? Tell me how we're going to do that.
Yeah, we can definitely put together some matrix that reflect that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think that just this document, the work that's before you today, I think explains and hopefully showcases the value of this group in terms of getting better numbers, more comprehensive look, a better oversight of our capital projects, reporting it out to the board, how much we've bonded, not bonding money, and then just having it sit there and not spending on projects. That level of oversight, I think is a benefit to the taxpayer.
Well, that's not the way the department was sold to us.
Well, maybe,
You know, Mr. Gerber explained that we'd have many times more savings.
to
And I
get to Jim's point, maybe
I
what,
think that we can, and I think that
yeah.
we can, as these projects move forward, this is just the plan, but as projects go live and there's instances where we don't need to hire a project manager because expertise is in-house, we can absolutely report that out.
Would you have a list of, I know you weren't gonna do every project, but I just want to be fair there. We're gonna do every single project. But you were gonna do many projects. Can you give us a list of the ones where your department is now handling that project? And we now no longer need those
Outside.
outside vendors? Because then we could look at the authorized amount and the dollars and actually see, that was this much savings. Okay.
That's great. Yeah, and maybe as part of and I appreciate what First Selectman said. I know we did hear anecdotally about the savings in Penfield that were able, some relatively significant ones that you were able to negotiate, and the turf field and some other things. So I think to address Mr. Walsh's questions, those would be good to highlight when you put them together. So thank you. Other questions, Mr. Matola?
I don't know who wants to answer this. You mentioned the funding agreement between the WPCA and the town. Did the WPCA board vote on that?
They have not, they reviewed it.
They
Did
did?
they? Okay.
Back in February.
They did, okay. So this board would have to vote on it at some point, I take it, right?
Yeah, we voted on it.
Go
So
ahead.
just as background, so we voted on it as a committee. It came up for a vote with the board. There were some questions on it. The commission or Michelle and the commission were going to go back and look at that. So we have not taken it up yet, again, at this board, but just to, put everyone at ease. As each project comes up, we would have to sign,
A memorandum of understanding.
So right now, it's presented in this plan similar to the draft or based on the draft that was provided to this board earlier. If it shifts around based on the categories, if that's the decision that's ultimately made, then we can talk about that and we can, shift the plan somewhat, but right now.
Okay, so the intent is to each WPC project vote on the funding split.
Yeah, we have to. So when we vote on a WPCA project, we vote on the project cost to be authorized and on the MOU, which basically says that the WPCA will pay the debt service.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Mr. Walsh?
Tom, on your part of the presentation, when you did the breakdown from town side, WPCA and it listed what part was infrastructure, like percentage wise, right? So, and I just made a note here, I wanted to ask you. So on the town side, it said infrastructure was going to be 58% of the spend. What part of that, or is it all safety streets related?
Is it all, what,
Safety streets related, based on the new ordinance that we have?
We don't have that exact breakdown, but we.
You provide that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's a high number, part of that 58%?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. If you can provide that, that'd be great.
I see Michelle Gore has her hand up. Ms. Gore, did you want to chime in here?
You're moving.
Oh. Is that I think you're muted.
Yes, Lori, thanks. I think I froze.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment on a couple of questions that had been raised in the discussion. One of the questions was specifically about the accuracy of the WPCA project cost estimates. So something that I worked on with Eli's office, specifically his project manager for WPCA, was going back to review the many planning documents that the WPCA paid for over the past decade. We went back to benchmark the cost estimates in the capital plan against those original cost estimates. And then we applied Connecticut DOT's cost estimating guidebook. And that's where we came up with the 5% escalator. So that 5% escalator as applied to WPCA projects is actually benchmark off of a DOT guidance document. So I just wanted to comment on those two questions that had been asked.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the overall plan?
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh.
I'm on the same area with the infrastructure, on Board of Education. It said that, it looked a little odd seeing the rest of it, but only 3% of their funds, capital projects are gonna be for infrastructure, 3%. And what's infrastructure? Are actually buildings that exist right now?
Yeah, so under the infrastructure of the Board of Ed, we just capitalized, we included turf fields. There was a turf field, one or two turf fields on there, and they're also paying some parking lots. Infrastructure.
Okay, so building projects.
The buildings
or
all go
buildings
under.
Themselves are still under the 97%?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, all right. And then what is this new police department equipment line that was listed?
Can we get to that when we have the police speak to us? Because we're going to go through the detailed spreadsheet.
Okay, and then so when you were listening to your, like you were talking at this point in time and you had your next. And you said at the very bottom is, it meets the goals of the administration. At the end of the day, it's really the administration that puts forth the plan. 'Cause nothing gets on the Board of Selectmen calendar unless the first select woman puts it there. Correct?
That is correct. I manage the projects that are approved by, that are put on the plan
Yeah.
by the administration and that are approved.
Okay.
That is my purpose. I
Okay.
help develop the plan, but I don't
Okay,
prioritize projects.
exactly.
Other than, yeah.
And that's been the way, at least since I've been on this for over 25 years. It always goes.
I
Whatever the first
explain-
select person wants to do, gets done. What they don't want to do, doesn't get done. Because they control putting stuff on their agenda. And if it doesn't get on their agenda and it's approved, it doesn't get to us. So, okay, I just want to make sure that's still the case.
I also just want to say that this meeting informs what potentially goes on before the selectmen agenda. So very much appreciate the conversation tonight. It's not just my opinion, one person. I take the input of their department heads who are the subject matter experts in these areas.
Mhm.
And then the purpose of tonight is to come and get feedback from all boards.
Yeah,
So-
no, I understand that and I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing that up. But in the end of the day, what moves forward and changes over time.
Absolutely.
Change during an administration, it could be change with the change of an administration. And I think just the public should know that. And then the breakdown of bonding, there was a page on the breakdown of the bonding, of how much is spent already. And I don't have your forms up here, so I can't. And you said the town's about 50-50 spent from authorized, thank you, I appreciate it, authorized to what they've actually bonded.
A little bit over 50% of not bonded.
Not bonded, okay. Okay. But what I found interesting was the next slide. And that would be, let's get it, and I appreciate the first selectwoman handing me the package. So on the Board of Ed side, it's only, looks like a little over 20% has not been bonded. 80% has been bonded. That's right. I want to make sure.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not to those exact percentages, but roughly.
Okay, but if we change some of the, like, there's kind of some large projects that have not been approved, right? So it's really what's going to be approved, not approved. I mean, this.
This is
This
just
is a breakdown of.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but like you take a Dwight school, and if it's going to be $75 million, it's going to drastically change that number, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we won't, to the cash flow point, we won't bond it immediately.
once.
We bond it based off of the project schedule
Okay,
over the duration of 2 years, 3.
Yeah, so just for clarity for the public, if a project is has a construction period of 3 years. And it's a $30 million project, you know, the town will bond 10 million per year. We don't bond and start paying interest all the way up. And we are actually restricted from doing that. We can't issue tax exempt bonds and sit on the money. We have to spend the money in a certain period of time. So there will be a time lag between authorization and bonding and spending.
All right. And then one of the things I saw on here, maybe I'll just bring this up with the police department because it has to do with their police department, the renovations that
Yeah.
that we've already approved.
I don't, okay, well, let's
Did we
go
not
through
approve
it.
renovations for the first floor yet?
No.
No.
We haven't?
No, we have not.
No,
We're
we're
waiting
not-
on the capital
Presented to
plan.
us? Okay.
Maybe some, yeah.
But we had a presentation on it.
We had a presentation. I think we declined to approve it because we wanted to see the comprehensive project come back
Mhm.
rather than approve piecemeal. So I think that's in design, but we'll talk about that when we
Alright.
get there. Okay.
That's it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, so for everyone else, if we go to, if you go to the large package, here, so the first page is an index of what's in here. So we'll skip over the capital plan summary because I think Tom has covered that in his opening remarks. So the page that says page 2 on the hard copy. Actually, this is the open and authorized project, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, the future projects.
Yeah, let's, just to explain to everyone, so again, one of the things that we added in this plan, which we previously had not had, is once we authorize a project, we used to have a bit of a black hole and we didn't see the progress on what was happening. So we now have this summary on the first couple of pages of authorized projects that are open. They've either been started or not started or in process, but they've already been approved by the board. So this is informational and you can read through this. You can see the comments that will tell you the status of the project, whether it's on track, et cetera. And you can see how much, you can see the percentage of completion. For purposes of this meeting, we are going to focus on the plan and specifically the projects that are expected to come back to us in the future. So for there, I think that starts on page 5. Thank you. And the way that this works is that it's split up in 2 sections. So we have, for each department, if you go about a little more than 3/4 of the way down on page 5, you can see town capital, projects less than $1 million not approved or bonded. So these are projects for the benefit of the public that if they're less than $1 million each, oftentimes we review these and approve them in sort of, we have one meeting, we have one bond issuance that will have several projects underneath it. So we're going to start there, but as we hear from the department heads, we're going to ask them to cover any upcoming projects less than $1 million, which are in this first section, and then the larger projects, which are more than $1 million each, begin on page.
Bottom of page 5 into page 6. Page 5 is non-recurring under.
Okay,
Yep.
and then bottom of page 6, and then we'll go, all right, so we want to do both. So let me just make sure I have this right. So page,
Starting on reference line number 65.
okay,
Starts with engineering Southport median grant.
gotcha. Okay, there we go. So top of page 5. So under $1 million starts on line 65, over $1 million starts on page 86, and we'll do that by department, right? Okay, thank you. So we'll start with DPW. Welcome.
Good evening.
We have our new DPW director here. Introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Frank Batiste, Director of Public Works.
Welcome aboard, Frank.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Before we get started, you said that, Madam Chairwoman, that the February numbers were in here.
Yeah, so
Where's that?
So the back of the package will have, and it starts on page 14. You will see a comparison of this plan and the last plan that we reviewed in February. And the columns there in orange, you can see the differences. And those differences were summarized in the initial presentation that we had, but the detail is all back. Okay, so Frank, want to just give a very
Talk
brief,
about those, as we go through though, as we talk about that.
Sure.
as We go through and you know that this difference, it's kind of hard to go back to page 14. We're concentrating on the stuff.
so maybe what we can do is ask each department head to give a, we're trying to keep this more of a Q&A, but if you could just do a brief overview of your upcoming projects, under $1 million, over $1 million, maybe a little more focus on the upcoming fiscal year, and then touch on any changes from the last plan. That would be great.
Sure, so
All right,
thank
and
you.
point us to line items since we have such a big spreadsheet. here.
So for the projects under $1 million, start at line 65. And go to 71. So what we have there is at a high level, 3 bridge and culvert designs, 1 roadway project design, and 1 drainage project design. Yeah, I'm happy to go into any detail you want or any questions. My best to answer.
Are
General
these,
question.
New from,
I don't believe so,
no,
no.
okay.
I think you just said, paving the town of Fairfield.
Yes.
August, my neighbor, got a message from the town that the paving was put on hold. Is that still on hold and why was it put on hold?
I don't know if I can speak to why it was put on hold necessarily, because it was before I started here. It's currently on hold and we're moving forward with a list in spring.
So you're not gonna do any paving in the fall when we already budgeted for fall paving? So none of those streets are gonna get done.
That's correct.
Who can speak to that? Why the reason for the hold?
In brief, I can't speak 100% to it, but the highlight of it is we need to catch up. So before we pave roads, Frank,
Yes.
please feel free to add. You need to do ADA ramps, you need to go through and do drainage, and fix all this stuff before we actually pave a road. You need to look at sidewalks, you need to look at, it's part of the requirement now that any sidewalk needs to be ADA requirement. So before we actually go back and pave the roads, we want to catch up with some of these smaller fixes like drainage and ADA. So we took this time for the fall to do that, and then we're going to pave in the springtime.
Are we gonna be doing the same amount of paving as we budgeted for and was talked about during the budget season? All that we've done.
That's correct.
That's correct. I'm in the process of updating the list too. There's a couple of roads that have, we just had a utility last week. There's a couple of roads that have utility work on them. So we might have to hold off on those, but I'll work to update those.
Thank you.
And the ADA ramps and some of that drainage work, hopefully can continue through the winter as well. We're ready to go in spring.
So the project's under $1 million. There's no change since the last plan. Are there any questions on these design projects? Mr. Walsh?
And I don't know who to speak to. I don't know whether Harlan needs to speak to the downtown resiliency. And the $472,000. Is that on plan to get done, or is that all 472 for conceptual plans? Trying to figure out whether any work's gonna get done. I see SLR conceptual design for all phases. So that's just planning.
That was planning. Right now, just to let you know, they have finished one section of design up to 100%. The other 3, they were at 30%. And usually at 30%, we then take a look and see, is the project still worth it? Is there any public comment about it? Stuff like that. In this case, with the downtown resiliency, right now, we're putting it on a hold in a sense that the 30 million, that's been on the waterfall chart for a couple of years now, the 20 to $30 million to do the whole thing just doesn't seem cost feasible. They had to raise the elevation of the pipes to avoid utilities. They had to incorporate potential sea level rise. And so the cost benefit has really gone down for that project. And so, right now, the whole design of the project is probably gonna be put on hold. We brought this, to the attention of the Flood and Erosion Resiliency Board, and they, kind of agreed. We would only be able to do a design for something around a 5-year storm. You know, you usually shoot for the 100-year storm. And so it's a 5-year storm. That means that we'd get no grants, no anything. So it's kind of on hold, the whole grant master plan. However, some money is still being allotted because maybe there's a choke point or two, because they've done a whole survey. And now if we manage particular sections of that, we can maybe improve this and at least get some improvement. Maybe it's only now $500,000 or $1 million rather than $20 million project, but at least we can try to do something for downtown. As we know, doing nothing really isn't an attractive option either. So that's why that's still in there, is just to have them take a closer look, not the whole plan, that the 20 million, but to isolate a couple of locations where we can do at least some improvements downtown.
Do you think you'll spend that money this year to do that? Or do you think we're gonna put some of that on hold?
Well, as I said, we just got the proposal, what the 30% design just, I don't know, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're gonna digest that, and certainly, because this, you don't vote on it but if we vote on it in the spring, we'll definitely have an answer over the winter on how far we'll go and how much money we'll be able to spend.
In one sentence, the infiltrators that were put in on Sherman Green where you guys dumped them on, did that do anything?
That is there for overflow. I think it has helped. Before they were put in, and again, sometimes it's cyclical with the storms. But before they were put in, we were getting 3 or 4 rainfall events a year. Now it seems to be cut in half maybe, over the last couple of years. So they definitely help. The water has to get to a certain level, and then it spills into the, underground into Sherman Green. And that's helped, but it's not the 100% solution, if you know what I mean.
Mr. Penley.
I ask a question on just sort of the comparison between the one from February to the one now. So the total project costs, so the escalator has been applied to all of them? Yeah.
Yeah, for any future projects.
For any, okay, but from February to now it gets applied?
The escalator was added since the February plan, or changed, updated.
That's my question. Thank you.
Other questions on projects under $1 million DPW?
Other than, has anything been added here and what has been taken off? Okay. Thank you.
You want to just briefly touch on over $1 million?
Sure. So the first one I have there is line 89, I believe. That's the capital equipment plan. So that is the, multi-year plan that was put into effect, and this is going into phase 3. So this is funding for the third phase of that. To continue to replace all products. And then the next ones we have would be on 93 and 94. So the first one is complete street design in South Benson Road. And then 94 is the construction of the bridge on Old Field. I believe that's all we have in 27.
Any questions from the board?
Anything added or subtracted from February meeting?
The capital equipment phase 2 was an add. Phase 3, I'm sorry. So the capital equipment plan, line 89.
Line 89.
Yeah, there was money added to future bonding. Not necessarily a new line, but money was added to add phase 3.
Quick question.
It's add phase 3. Okay. And then
Mr.
phase 4 and 5?
No, that would complete the 10-year plan.
The fiscal year 2030.
Correct.
What's the next 2 years worth of numbers that for fiscal year 30, 31, $1 million?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It goes up to year 31 would complete the 10-year plan.
Okay, so that completes the plan, but you said more money was added in 27? And that's supposed to be here?
It was.
Or was it added to another year? That some money was added, something you were saying.
Yeah, so line, let's see. Yeah, so there's a total change of for capital equipment phase 2. There was a deduct of 102,000, which then we added phase 3. And I can get you that update as to what was added.
Okay, I don't want to hold the meeting up, so we go on.
Thank you. Mr. Matola?
On the complete Safe Street South Benson, I don't want you to get into a long discussion about it. Just generally, what is that? Where is that gonna be on South Benson?
So I believe it's going from or Old Postal all the way down to Jennings.
Jennings?
But sidewalks and we have to look at the pavement markings.
And that's a placeholder, so this is a new added entity compared to the last one in February, correct?
Was this on there?
Yeah, this was on.
Brand new.
Yeah.
You know, it's been on the capital.
I believe it was on,
plan.
yeah.
All right, that's it, thank you.
And I just want to point out one thing for 92, complete and safe streets project. They have it, the fiscal year 28 and 29. The reason why I believe it's not in 27 is the town recently received a Safe Streets for All grant. That will be presented at the hopefully the next 1 or 2 Board of Selectmen meetings where we hire a consultant to do that study. They estimate that study to be a year. And so that's why that's pushed back. But if for some reason that study gets done earlier, it's slightly possible we may come, with the 14 points to do it a little bit earlier because we're always getting requests for new sidewalks. I just wanted to point that out.
And the idea behind this is kind of what we did on Brown Hill Road, sidewalks, narrowing the roads a little, slowing down.
Yeah, there'd be
traffic.
maybe some traffic calming measures or some sidewalks, especially filling in the gaps is certainly an important feature. And then again, trying to get, whether it be near school, parks or destinations, yes.
Beach. People
Right,
have-
exactly, yeah. And that- yep.
Go 1,000 miles an hour down south.
Well, that's why that's in
All right,
the
thank you.
plan, yep.
That stuff, the work that's done already, like on Old Holmes Road, right? There's a narrowing there, and over by Bill Avenue, right? Do you guys know of any traffic accidents that cause head-on collisions at all from people being too close to each other?
Not that we're aware of. We constantly ask the police department, the Yukon's craft repository is available. So far, I think there's only been 1 accident and it was somebody on their phone or doing something on Villa. There's been 0 there. And as far as including the one that's coming up on Route 1, the road diet that they're doing, and on Post Road with the pavement markings, those have been proven safety countermeasures where it reduces accidents 19 to 40-something%. So, and those are proven. They have the whole studies for that. So, so far I've not heard of any accidents.
I'd say most of the people I'm seeing on Old Post Road, people are just, they're going into that hatch area.
It's again, it's there for about, even if they happen to go in a foot, it's still better than being within a foot of the cyclist. There's still that buffer.
Mhm.
All right.
And there's ways to correct that too if we want, though, further.
Yeah, I think people start thinking that inner lane is a parking area now.
We can do bollards, we can paint, we can do other things. We'll continue to study, to be honest.
I did
Yep.
hear, is there a reason that we can't designate through markings that that's a cycling lane on the right?
If you do that, then you give up parking.
Okay.
And so we would like to talk to the neighborhoods, I think, before we do something.
Once you designated a bike lane, it's a travel lane, so you can't.
You can't park there. Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that.
Sure.
You couldn't have the Memorial Day parade there anymore.
All right. Any other questions for DPW and engineer? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Forward to
Thank
all the great things you.
Look forward to
will be
working with you
doing.
as well. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Frank.
All right, so let's move to, next up on here is fire. Hello, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. How are you? Okay, so do you want to just give a brief overview of the fire projects, under a million, over a million, maybe focus a little more on the current year and then anything that's changed?
Are you looking at station 6?
So-
sorry,
You're
I'm-
starting at line 7.
Yeah, I'm starting on page 5, so you've got the under a million, and then we'll flip to the over a million, and then again.
So all three of these projects that you see here are not in the 27 capital projects, but they're coming out. So line 72 is Fire Station 2, which is our Jennings Street Fire Station built in 1970. And so it's for upkeep of that station, a lot of different issues with it. The next thing down is car 3 replacement, and it's consistent with our vehicle replacement program, which we've given to the board in the past. So, you know, that's the command car for our shift commander. So it's a large scale SUV with you know, radio and equipment that they bring, meters and things like that, that we bring to fire scenes, and SCBA's, you know, our air packs and things like that. So and then the last thing, the third thing down was Station 3, which is also out, I think that's out in 2031, but that's our Jackman Avenue Firehouse, which it's in Jackman was 17, I think. It's an older firehouse too, and so, you know, we're also anticipating, because of the way that the town is growing and growing, that we have to expand our facilities a little bit. We're cramped as it is, and if we get another person per shift, right now, we don't really have that much space for our equipment and our personnel. You toured around with us a few months ago, and you saw some of the cramped station, you know, areas. A lot of the a lot of these houses don't have modern windows and bathrooms of the original ones, which, you know, I think I was saying at one time in my house, I bought a 1950s house, and I've renovated the bathroom and the kitchen twice since I've been there, but like these are originals, and so really, you know, they really need work.
Okay.
But in well, yeah, here. So these are ones that are coming up for this year.
Can I ask questions about that section?
Yes, yes, sir.
Sure.
So the only one I really have questions on, like, are breaking.
Yes.
I guess a couple questions I have is, if you talk about cars, but this car is really gonna cost $201,250.
So it starts off as a base pickup truck. You add the lighting equipment which goes to it. So the car will end up somewhere around that when you add all the technology that goes into it, meaning you look at the radios, there have to be certain radios. There's PLRM radios, which are on our state network, which costs a certain amount of money.
$14,000, I think we got updated through
Right.
Vector's car. Yeah. So we're becoming experts in that area.
And then you'll be looking at all the other equipment that goes with it, because it's replacing a car right now that's a 2018. So the technology in that car needs to be updated, whether it be thermal image cameras, things of that nature. So we try to outfit with newer equipment.
And that cost, when we replaced it, how many, 2 years ago?
It
Was
was
it
140, 120, 25, I think.
You know, something like that. Now, this is going out in 2031, so, you know,
Trying to project a cost, it's like, you know, we'll know a little bit when we get closer to that.
get closer, we
Quite
can
an
find that.
2029, right?
2029.
Is this the same equipment? or
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Different additional equipment? Because as we also found out, nothing for these vehicles went over what was budgeted for in regards to the fit outs of them during this whole process, during the audit. So is this different equipment, or is this the same equipment, update. For example, just like you threw out a term, thermal imagery. Is there anything like new? That's the same piece of equipment.
Well, we would normally, if we bought a new car to replace our existing one, we would have hardwire charger. Not take out the other one, the other car and put it in, if that's what you meant, because that car then we'll use as our backup car for when this car has to go for a PM, or when we have a fire and this car is with our shift commander at the fire, and then we call in another shift commander to staff the rest of the town. So,
What car is being used for that now? I mean, that could be just too old, you're gonna get rid of it. So right now you probably have a current shift commander car, right? This fire, let's just call it car
three, and
current car three.
and
And you have a backup car three, right?
Car three.
Three.
And so that is the previous iteration, so that's the previous one, and that has all that original equipment in it. And it's used, it's actually placed in service, what,
That's a
2 days ago?
Yeah, it was.
No, I mean, 2 days ago when we had a structure fire and we had to go back and.
So
we
what
used-
happens to that car 3.3? And when we get to 2031, you
So-
sell it? I mean, what do we do
No,
with it?
we'll
Does
still-
that become 3.33?
No, we'll just use that as a utility car for something, by that time it's going to be.
Did any of the equipment move over from car 3 to the new car 3?
Certain things like, say
2030.
a Halligan and an axe, one of our big tools, something like that, maybe something like that's a heavy, but you wouldn't do it with any technical equipment because these things are, it's gonna be a new generation of thermal imaging cameras and you don't want to put the permanent charger mounted into the vehicle.
Okay. And then the next question I have is, I think you've answered the questions I have on that, but why is this showing up on the capital plan? Are we planning on bonding this car already? Because it used to be these cars would show up in your budget. Typically, put them on a rotation. We'd have a whole plan, a book. We know that car was coming, but it would be budgeted for in your budget.
So in our operating budget,
Yeah.
so that wasn't really our decision. I think what happens is that it used to be that the magic number was something above $100,000 became a capital project, and you had to see it in the non-recurring. So I don't really, we don't really care how you want to put it, whichever is easier.
And we can discuss that in 2029 when it comes up. It's, right now, it does meet the threshold, but if there's a desire at that point in time to put it in the operating budget, the board can vote to do that.
Have we ever bonded one of these cars that you know of? Or-
I don't know what the last one was. That was before I was in this position.
I don't think we have.
That's a good question to
I
ask
don't
when it
think,
comes up.
did we find out whether we've ever bonded command shift?
You can see where count the lab.
Yeah. I don't remember ever, and it just seems.
Move on to those over $1 million.
Okay, get that.
Sure. So these two projects, are projects that will start.
Well, there's actually, they flow on to the next page. Oh, okay.
Oh.
These are the two for the current year. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right, got it. So the first two projects are we're requesting for fiscal year 27. And one is Fire Station 4 renovation, design and construction. So it's to start the project of renovating Station 4, which is the oldest firehouse that we have, built in 1914. So you can imagine, I think a lot of you down there, when you saw that you couldn't walk around the fire engine when the doors were shut. So we just actually, probably in a week, we'll put in service a new fire engine down there. And we had to have it engineered actually to fit in the fire station. We had to have its front bumper. So the building is very, built in 1914 for horses, I assume. And it really just can't handle. Yes. It's Southward, yes. The only thing I do want to mention to you is that we do not own that building. In that building, Southward Volunteer Fire Department does own it, but part of this project is to ensure that we get a favorable lease so that we can locate in there.
So where does that lease money go to? I'm trying to figure that out. So you're telling me, how much do we lease that building right now?
$1 a year, which I don't think we've ever paid it since I've been here, so.
Should have said that.
The invoice.
Tom, you need to cut a check for $10, I think.
It's being accrued. On the other hand, we do heat that building and we do take care of that
Doing
building,
it.
so there is a quid pro quo, so, in that way.
Is there a reason it just isn't turned over to the town? Since we're paying for everything? I mean, every single thing. Now we're about to build a brand new fire station there.
Right, I think it's a private corporation, so that'd be something that council would have to.
Our council. Okay. Can we get a presentation on that? Some point, I don't need it right now. We're just talking about it, but
Yeah, maybe when it comes up
before we're
for,
funding that night, because it just seems odd. We're paying $1 a month. We're doing everything at that building. We're now funding a whole new building, and I understand it's a favorable lease. Like, why aren't we just getting?
so we'll address that when this comes up for approval then. Okay. All right, and keep going.
And the second thing was, fire station, fire apparatus maintenance, and those of you that went to our Jennings Street Firehouse saw that the apparatus maintenance shop is co-located in our fire station 2. And space is very difficult there. They have trouble, we have permanent jacks, we have movable jacks, we usually have to put the fire engine outside. Winter, so we would like to build either an extension on that building or possibly down near our fire training center to build a maintenance shop.
That, and I just want to be clear, no, that this is the Jennings Road Fire
Yes,
Station.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, some of us, I think I got it for it. What do you guys think is best for that? I mean, because to me, it seems like maybe it would make sense more down there than opposed to the building itself, which should just be run as a fire station.
Right. Ideally, it would be better down there because for parking and things like that, moving around apparatus.
Parking of cars.
Right, because otherwise we'd have to build out a backyard and then take some parking. So, and bringing our fire engines in through Crimson and Rakosi Avenue, right in the back, it's a residential neighborhood. It's
Even when
not
the
that
tow
easy.
truck has to connect to it,
Right.
it's very difficult for him to get in the back, so.
Is this price for one option or the other, is this would be either option, approximately $3 million from your end?
Yeah, this is for a new build. This is at the fire training.
Is that training? Yeah, okay.
This is not an attachment.
Drastically lower if we keep it at the fire station.
I don't think it was I don't think we studied connecting it to the fire station. It just be
You still have a lot of limitations there. You still wouldn't be able to raise the vehicle in there. You'd have to build it back.
Oh, because it gets the.
Because if you think about a fire apparatus or a ladder truck is a little over 11 feet tall, and you're gonna lift it 7 feet here, now you have to build a roof that high, so it would be more advantageous to have a purpose-built building.
Just from your knowledge of flagging, does every fire department have like a maintenance facility like this, like where they send this stuff out to be repaired someplace else?
Some of the
Trying to figure out.
Some of the smaller places have to because they don't have mechanics,
Sure.
but departments our size and larger do have their own mechanics.
Norwalk uses the old wheels station that they own.
Right, it's across the 95 if you can see.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, and the other ones are years out. Can you just, is there any briefly, we'll cover these by Q and A just so we can keep moving. Are there any changes here that are noteworthy on the ones that are beyond fiscal 28 and beyond?
The fiscal year, actually fiscal
Eli,
year.
it's,
Yeah, no, there's been no changes.
okay, because I know we discussed these at length in February. Was there changes on these? Okay.
Yep.
Any questions from the board on some of these? All right.
I just have one question. What's this mobile command ship?
Oops.
Remember what that was?
So, Chief Harris, you want to help us with this? So
Is that a fire? I'll bring it up under yours if it's easier to talk during yours, Chief.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I can talk
what I kind of know about it. That makes
Okay,
sense.
why don't we just wait till you get up here?
Well, next anyway, so come on up, Mike.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate you all being here.
Appreciate your time again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to police.
Which was more, man.
This is supposed to be. I told you.
So welcome. Good to see you guys. So you don't have anything on the less than $1 million. Your stuff's expensive, so we'll go right to which line item is that then? Eli?
Line 119.
119, perfect. Okay, so that's on page 7. All right, so just, just brief overview, focusing on the current year or any changes.
So the police department building project is allowing us to allow room for our expansion of our department, updated equipment. For example, the locker room, we have female officers who are sharing lockers at this point, not able to, fit into a room that we have. We have additional female officers that we have hired, and we can't fit them in the room. So the locker room expansion is more of a absolutely than anything. The parking department integration into our police department had a couple more employees added to our department, which would now require us to have a different space to ensure that we're accommodating, yes, their space and then the public. Our social worker and intern has an office space that needs to be a little bit bigger and more acceptable to the public, not shoved into a back of a room. We like for it to be more accessible to the public. Our training department, our training office needs a revamp for technology and room, et cetera. Along with our captain's office relocations, which at this point, my command staff is spread throughout the building. And I would like to have more continuity of services with us internally. To have our captain's offices in one area would be much more advantageous to us, and especially to me, to allow the police department to function.
So there has been no changes since the last plan. Currently, the project is in redesign. Due to the shifting of the parking department, we had to go back and revamp the first floor lobby and a few changes that Chief Harris. So it's currently in redesign. We do plan on getting a professional estimate done when the design is complete. Then we'll bring that to the board.
All right, and then the body cam and dash cam?
Sure.
Can I have a question you want me to ask him at the end, Madam Chairwoman?
Sure. Do you mind?
Yeah, no, no.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. We'll get them all in.
Sure. So the body cam and dash cam by Axon is what we use currently for technology with body cameras. Our taser devices are less lethal devices. Our car cams all required by the accountability bill, 21st Century Policing. And those, we currently have a contract with them, except this is a refresh of this contract, which would give us an additional body cameras and car cameras needed for additional officers, along with additional technology that we'd like to encompass into one platform. Right now, we have technology that's all over in different companies. So that would include license plate readers, which we currently have now, but we'd like to push it into one technology with Axon. That technology has brought us to 21st century policing truly and allowed us to become police, using police without having the danger of chasing people, things such as that nature. The Axon project would give us new TASER 10 devices, which is our less lethal devices. We like to keep up with technology, and especially with our less lethal devices, which are used to apprehend criminals. We don't want to use old technology. New technology for us is important for us to maintain this quality and ensure that we are using the updated technology, especially for lawsuits and such like that.
Do you want to touch on the mobile command one, and then that's the only other one here. I
Sure.
think, right?
So I don't know much about the mobile command project that was prior to me. Excuse me, but I do know that if it's something that's given to us on a grant, I think that would be sufficient, allowing for us as a police department and town in general to use a vehicle such as that.
Other than that, I don't know how much we would push for.
Okay, so that's not till 2031. So if we get a grant, then that would offset this amount. And if we don't get a grant, you're saying that might go away?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That was for like a mobile trailer, and it would put it on here, but it's really dependent on getting the grant. Don't see us moving forward if we don't get the grant. Of course, if that changes over the next few years in terms of our emergency management needs, then we'll revisit it.
So what the mobile trailer you said, what is it?
It's,
Yeah, so like right now we have a mobile command post, which we currently have as a police department, we use for critical incidents, emergency situations where there's, catastrophes. We'd have one area where we have all of our command staff shared with police, fire, emergency management, things of such as that, in one particular location with technology to be able to operate. A lot of towns have them, most towns have them. Like I said, we have one currently that we use and function. If we were able to get a grant for updated technology in that sense, I think it would be beneficial, but again, only contingent upon the grant.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. So I thought I saw in your parking lot, you have a mobile.
We do.
Command vehicle. We do. Just past use light.
So it's a 2007. It's very dated. The technology within it is very dated. It needs a lot of work to it, and we have done work to it, but it's a dated vehicle for sure. Low mileage, certainly, but because it's typically used for response from the police department to a critical incident. So that's why the mileage is low on it, but it's an old vehicle.
That's one of the things that's used down at the beach during clam jam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think I might have seen it.
Yes.
All right. All right, I'm gonna go in reverse order. So we talked about that one. I just have a question in regards next to body cam, dash cam tasers. And my question, I guess, generally is, I thought we had used up a month to prepay for 10 years worth of body cam technology. All the fees, it included replacements if something broke. So why is, unless it's, I mean, I don't think it had anything to do with tasers, that money. I don't remember tasers being talked about. But tell me why we're gonna have to, so I thought we were done with that for 10 years and we're not, we're probably 4 years into that, if I'm correct, maybe even 3. Sure. Tell me why we're now going to $667,000 a year for something I thought was paid for. With government money for free.
So it's actually, Axon has been growing as a provider that really helps to integrate all sorts of technologies that are out there that we're moving towards. I guess the short answer is this: you are 100% correct. We're 5 years into what was a 10-year contract, and that contract covered our 112 officers for body cameras, dashboard cameras, tasers, and our evidence monitoring systems. With the increase in our personnel, we were awarded the 5 additional officers for this year. So at a bare minimum, we were looking at around $266,000 to get them properly equipped to what we are mandated to equip them with. The same thing, the body cameras, the dash cameras, and the tasers. And
For a year.
for the next 5 years. That's at a bare minimum. But Axon also approached us for a contract rewrite that would include a host of other services beyond the tasers, the body cameras, and the dash cameras. And that would be a system called Fusus, which gives us access to 225 video streams. So it's kind of like a decentralized real-time crime center where we could access all sorts of the surveillance that we are currently accessing, but it kind of like becomes a one-stop shop. And the other big add-on there is the drone as a first responder, which a lot of police departments are moving towards. And it's not surveillance per se. We've been using drones for surveillance for decades, and we're in compliance with legal precedent and statutory law with all of that. This is more about increasing our response time to a critical incident that's happening in the moment. The second a call comes in and our dispatchers start putting it out, the drones automatically deploy themselves over there, and all of our officers have a live feed to surveil the area, and it's a major officer safety boost.
Ms. Ruggiero?
Are there a lot of other towns using the drones?
Yes.
Yeah, Milford, for example, is being piloted department for drones, and they've seen such great success with it. Especially with the use of drone, the first responder responding to the scenes prior to the police or fire department responding. They're able to have an overview, know where to put our resources. They've used it just recently for a robbery suspect who took off running. They were able to control the scene, not having too many officers respond, but respond in accordance with what they saw on the drone. Pretty amazing technology.
Sounds like it'd be enough to help ambush that happened here a few years ago.
No doubt.
Thank you.
Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, just, so these fees are now gonna be bonded, it looks like, or at least put up bonded. It will be a decision made by the Board of Finance time. But at some point in time, this is just like an annual expense, right? There's no more ARPA money, no more like whatever. We took this out of your budget. And now we're gonna have to have a difficult decision coming up because it's not gonna be 667,000. That's the add-on stuff, right? It's gonna be the main part of what all 112, I think you said. That's why I think that's what you said. What?
So we are,
That's
yeah,
fine.
we're just about caught up on those expenses. So the way I understand it, and forgive us as we're coming into this, previous administrations started this program. So we did our best to understand the history and the evolution. But our understanding is that, this year, year 5, we would have completed our payments for the 112 officers.
Oh, okay. All right, so there was front loaded some of that money?
Correct.
Yeah, first year's budget neutral.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right, we just got to keep that in mind. We'll be retired like Charlton's gonna be, not have to worry about it.
I'll still be here.
I'll still be a taxpayer though, so I'll worry. So just to clarify, so the 200, roughly 200,000 you mentioned, that's to fit up 5 new officers?
That's kind of at minimum what we really don't have a choice. We
Got
have
it.
to.
So when we, as we add officers, as the community grows and we add officers, that's roughly, say, 40, 50,000 per to just equip the officers. So to your point, that's, maybe that piece goes in the operating, I don't know, but okay, that's good to know. All right, thank you.
And the
Any-
last
go
one,
ahead.
I wanted to go back to the first thing we talked about, which was the police department rehabilitation. So I guess we have not voted on this money. So that'll come up for bonding. It's $2.5 million. At least you still think that's an accurate number, correct? And I think we went on a tour of the police department. And it was like, there's a lot more female officers, respectful locker rooms, stuff like that. Same thing with fire. We went on their tours, same thing. But also like, I don't know, was the shift commander or somebody who's on site, look out for respectful space either, and whatever. There's been some rumors about that there's been some changes to what you're doing. Is the plan to put an emergency management conference room on the first floor or anywhere in the police department?
So when I made chief, noticing these plan coming forward, being brought before me, I eliminated anything such as that. Eli and I discussed that is most certainly not a need as of this point. But the needs that I did present to Eli were things that I know that my officers will need to use, what will be beneficial to the public, and allow me to function as a police department and manage the police department in the way that I see it. What other administrations have done before that was not in line with what I would want to do. So those changes are a result of me coming in, running the department how I see to be fit, and not having anything extra. As the deputy chief brought in there with Axon Fusus, Axon Fusus can be brought into one particular room called the Tactical Operations Center, sometimes they call it. I don't see in the town of Fairfield and the Fairfield Police Department a need to staff a room in particular, but Axon Fusus allows us to put that technology in the hands of every officer at a desk. So my desk can operate as an Axon Fusion Center, just like it can for the Detective Bureau. So I would imagine that if there was a room that was built, that's pie in the sky type attitude, where I, as a police chief, know how things run in my police department and know why I would do certain things. So that's why I made those changes and eliminated something.
So Eli, maybe you'd know. So what we heard is Mr. Becker wanted that done. Emergency management was always meeting down at the fire training center, correct? When the emergency management team needed to be formed for a storm, sand, or windstorms, for major snowstorms, they would form it, it'd be manned, and it was always down at the fire training center.
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know.
I can answer that. It was mixed. It was mixed, Mr. Walsh. It was the police department's training room operated as a emergency operations center.
Okay.
Which was outfitted with telephones, et cetera, in that room. And at times when we had a bigger operation, we would move down to the fire training center. But our training room upstairs is sufficient enough to convert to emergency operations center if needed.
But there's no space in the fire department, correct? So you could either go down.
Yeah, correct.
to the Training center,
That's correct.
or you could work out of your conference room.
That's correct. Now, the fire training center is not ideal because if it's a storm and flooding such as Storm Sandy, we want to have an operations center in the midst of a flood zone. Now that is protected with stuff that they've done.
Yeah.
And they've put barriers in place to protect that, but to get down there would be impossible and to leave would be impossible. And I like my family a little bit. I want to get out of there every once in a while.
Fire department, lots of new boats.
Yes, we could use one of them. But our conference room, our training room, is 100% sufficient enough to hold an emergency operations center, which we would convene if that was necessary.
Was money spent from the last time we met about this to now on putting an emergency management conference room into, like, any architectural money spent on that?
I don't know that.
Well, this is,
Based off of the last administration, the last police chief, there was money set aside to do a conceptual plan of an emergency management center within the police department.
Which was not in our original presentation when it was first presented.
I can't speak to that.
no, I
wasn't
don't
part of
think, when the original, and I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the original presentation that we had, and maybe the deputy chief will remember, was for a subset of the project, right? Like, because originally you guys were coming with little pieces at a time, and we heard that as a board, and we said, why don't we step back, scan the whole thing, get a real design done, and approve the whole thing, and then we can spend the money in stages if we want to, but at least this way we could see the comprehensive project, right? So maybe Chief Palomares had some, different views on this, but this right now is the plan that you're behind.
That's correct.
I know that originally, emergency management, implements in there were de minimis at first. And then, upon certain people hearing the technology we were putting into upgrade our classroom, there were certain aspects of the project that were a little bit co-opted for a while. But Chief Paris has hit the reverse button on that, going back to what the original plan was.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for police officers? Thank you, guys, very much. Good luck. Good to see you. Right, so, let's just go back to page 5. I think we are on, Parks and Rec. Mr. Calabrese, is he, hi, Anthony?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect.
So do you want to,
Lori, can I?
Lord, sorry, there's one more police department item.
there is?
Yeah, line 54. Sorry, Anthony.
No worries, chief.
Oh.
That's part of the authorized, but we are bond.
Okay, that's already been approved.
Yeah, that's already been.
Okay, all right, so we don't have to go through it. Okay,
I wanna-
yeah, that's okay. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Good to see you. Anthony, thanks for waiting. You want to take us through, high level, please?
Yeah.
The, under $1 million and then over $1 million?
You got it, of course. So starting on page 5, you'll see the Parks and Rec project starting at line 75. There's 3 projects here that will be in the upcoming fiscal year, 27. That's line 75, which is the Naps Playground, Naps Park Square Playground replacement. The Owen Fish Park Tennis Court rebuild, and the Ash Creek Playground replacement. Those are the 3 projects for this upcoming budget. There's been no projects added to the 10-year plan. Project for the last several years.
Any, well, why don't you go through the over $1 million too, and then we'll,
Yep.
start the questions.
The only project we have for over $1 million in 27 is the adaptive rec building, which I'm not sure what line that is, so I apologize. I just don't see it. So maybe Eli knows it offhand, but I know it's there. I think it's just up in a different section.
Yeah, it's down on line.
Well, you have line numbers on this thing.
Yeah, it was crucial for us to add them because we do this all the time. Line 61. Page 4.
Oh, that's because
There was,
this was authorized already.
there was seed money authorized.
Partial authorization.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So once the design is finished, we'll come back to the bids for the final construction costs.
Okay. And then I also, yeah, and then there's a few over $1 million, but those are in future years. I guess the one thing, is this really not a change, the old Giant Steps building? Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
I can't really speak to it much. We've been carrying that on our master plan. So we put it towards the end of the plan because there was overlap with the town facilities group. That's the obviously the alternative high school currently. So I know they were looking at that for an ECC or other things. So it's pretty far out on our plan, but Parks and Rec does think that that property should be looked at for recreational use. So that's why we've been carrying it.
And are we demoing the building?
Yes.
This was part of the school feasibility study that we looked at the abandoned Giant Steps property.
Right.
That when we purchased that site, the Giant Steps School is used for a World alternative high school. There was the abandoned building. There was some back and forth over the past 5 years of whether or not that building can be renovated. As part of the school feasibility study, took a look at that and it's determined that it is not feasible to renovate that building. It's demolished. It is, as Mr. Calabrese said, part in their long-range master plan for recreation, which is why it's on the waterfall in the out years. I mean, we can have further discussions as a town, you know, what other uses down the line with Mr. Calabrese about what exactly will be there, but we did want to keep some money in the waterfall for future.
Mr. Myers?
I just thought that there was concern about just safety and liability of having that building still standing. So how long is it gonna be before it gets brought down?
Yeah, so we're developing a scope. Unfortunately, there needs to be some remediation done before we can demo the building. So we're working with consultants on developing a remediation scope.
It is definitely a priority, getting that building down because it is.
All fenced off though.
It is fenced off, but appreciate that it's not ideal to have an abandoned building.
Questions for Mr. Calabrese? Mr. Welch?
How you doing, Anthony?
Good, Jim. How are you?
So with all the, like the next 3 years or so, the playgrounds, when we're done with those, will every single playground in the town have been rehabilitated with the ARPA money and now all of these plans? We won't hear about playgrounds for a while?
That is the goal. Yeah, not with this next batch that we're going to do in 27, but yes, they are all listed here. So yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Esma?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Anthony. I have a question about the Owen Fish tennis court.
Yep.
I mean, every court's different. I don't know if we have different services to them, the use and the life cycle is different. But in this case, because I do remember at some point in the past that it was resurfaced. Is this just resurfacing? Is it replacing the actual floor of the court, the fencing, nets, I would imagine? But how much of a renovation is this?
This would be a complete renovation. So that's a bituminous product right now. So basically an asphalt. With the asphalt, you typically will grind that up and redo that every 10 to 12 years. I believe this one we put in 2007. The plan here would be to replace that with post-tension concrete, which is the way we've been going with all our tennis court projects. That comes with a 20-year guarantee against cracks, 10 years on all the lines. So while it's a little more money up front, in the long term, we do save money. We're not planning to add any other courts there, so it will remain a single tennis court. We will overlay 2 pickleball courts on each end of it as well, though.
Okay. And then it's painted in, Anthony, that 20-year life cycle.
Yeah, it'll be painted. It'll be painted initially, and then that's guaranteed for 10 years. So it may need to be painted again in another 10, but we haven't had any of ours hit that 10-year mark yet. I think our oldest courts in the batch right now are, I believe, the James Blake's courts at Fairfield Ward High School, followed by Tomlinson Middle School.
Okay, great. And pardon my back. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Anthony. I have a question, please, about, I don't see anything here with the senior center. I could be off. This isn't necessarily something maybe that would be in capital planning, but I think there was some funding that we had initially intended, some projects with the ARPA funding for like maybe the kitchen that didn't get done or something along those lines.
Yep, but I believe, and Eli might be able to speak to that. I believe those projects were authorized, so they're in the process.
Correct. Yeah, they're part of the facility audit plan to do some work at the senior center. James Ryan is currently looking into replacing all the windows.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Welsh?
Anthony, on the marina cost, the phase 3 that's spread out over 4 years, is that the last phase? Or is there more phases to that project?
No, it's really just the way that it's worded on there. We haven't actually started that project.
You may say I must have missed phase 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, you fell asleep or something here.
Yeah.
I believe we started trying to put that together in about 2017. And then COVID and the uprising at the marina with the costs going up. So we were phasing it in over 3 phases. It just kept the title of phase 3, but it took all the money from phase 1, 2, and 3 and just spread it out over those 4 years. So they were going to do it in pieces.
And basically keeping what's there, but just modernizing it.
That's correct.
Right?
Yep.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
In order to save spaces, because we were going to lose half the spaces if we went the other direction.
Exactly.
Mr. Matola?
So basically, when we got a presentation on that, God, like 9 years ago, and for lack of a better term,
2017, I think.
lack of a better term, the you know what hit the fan.
Yeah.
Bolts had to be put down, John. Bolts.
Yes, so that's what we got, the presentation we got many years ago, that's not really happening. It's more subtle updates and so on.
Yeah, the money that's on this waterfall chart is to replace what's there with the same layout that's there. So we have 200 boats, we're keeping 600 boats. We don't have finger docks, we're not adding finger docks. It's basically to replace the 40-year structures that are there.
All right.
Thank you. Mr. Myers?
Hey, Anthony, it's Jim Myers. Could you just remind me again, the Jennings Beach master plan upgrade, what high level did that encompass?
Parking lot work, splash pad near it would be an expanded green area near the Sandcastle playground. A food truck area, kind of where this circle is now, right before you get to the concession building. Those are kind of the high level items that were there.
Okay. But no, like structures, new structures, like near where the boats go in and out? Not
No.
over by where the sailboats kind of have their Okay.
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Mr. Welch.
And then just regards to the splash pads, I know we did the Lake Mohegan one.
Yep.
And whatever, you know, they seem to have gotten in the news over the last 3 months or so, saying there's a lot of bacteria and all this stuff. Do we use a specific kind that prevents bacteria? Like,
So it's a good question. Depends on the type of system that you have. So a lot of those are systems that recycle the water. Ours don't recycle the water, right? So our water is coming straight from the street, the normal water lines. So it's fresh water that's being pumped through ours. The surfacing that we have, doesn't really doesn't attract mold or keep mold on it. So we do a light power wash in the off season. Pretty much, it's pretty low key.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I found it odd reading the article and then realizing we just paid for one, so. But
Yep.
glad we're using fresh water.
Yeah, it's not coming from the lake. People ask that question too. So.
All the spring.
Good. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Calabrese?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
See you soon.
Thanks, Anthony.
Right.
Okay, we are going to move to WPCA, which I believe starts the bottom of page 9 for a couple of projects under $1 million. One of them is a little bit out there, and then actually, no, we have a number of them. So page 9, 10.
Page 9 for WPCA is to open authorized.
How about the bottom of, oh, okay, I see it. No, non-recurring.
There's actually 2 for fiscal year 27.
Yeah, starting on page 190, I'm sorry, line 196 is not authorized,
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Yeah, okay, so starting there. Okay, welcome. We have Michelle Gore here, General Manager of the WPCF. Welcome.
Thank you. So I actually was planning to review the 2 projects that we'll be seeking funding authorization for in fiscal year 27. And so if you scroll down to line 265, you'll see structural and MEP, so mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
199 on R.
Oh, okay.
So hoping there wasn't that many.
What I had, it was 265. I apologize. And so this is a assessment for the water pollution control facilities, structures and appurtenances itself. This is outside of the WPCF's overall improvement projects. And these are really to identify how to go about prioritizing phase 2 and phase 3 priorities for that larger improvement project, and then also potentially pulling some of those items out of the improvement project and addressing them separately.
Okay, why don't you go through the other and then we can circle back for questions.
Sure. The second project is the continuation of the phase 5. I'd prefer to call it phase 6 inflow and infiltration project. So this is continuation of addressing routine inflow and infiltration to our wastewater collection system. What we're looking to focus on in this next phase is cammering and designing rehab, so lining pipelines in the immediate shoreline area. We're also going to look to address our infrastructure in the West Trunk.
Okay. All right.
Ask questions at the end, right?
We're also going to look to service areas of 2 pump station plan. So Mill River, which is our largest service pump station, and then Center Street Pump Station, which we've already been authorized for design and construction. We'll also be looking to eliminate private inflow to our system in this next phase.
So it's important to note that the upcoming 2027 bond request is just for seed money. It's just for us to be able to study the I&I phase 6 and also the structural and evaluation. So for seed money to be able to establish the actual scope of what the project's going to be.
Got it. And so, Michelle, before we go to Q&A, I think we heard at the beginning of the presentation that there were no new projects on here since February, and the changes were mostly in the estimates and the escalations that were added. But can you just touch on that quickly? Is there anything else we should focus on?
No, you've captured that accurately.
All right, thank you. Questions from the board?
So the I and I again, so you have no idea what the project is.
Well, we do. We do. Right now, we estimate the project costing 3.75.
So that's the 1.2, 1.2, 1.1.
Correct. Yep, but we do need some money just to be able to start design, get the drawings ready. So there's no need to bond further just because construction's not actually happening.
And I know I've asked this question before to both Score and you, Eli, about when do we find out how much saving, because we're throwing money at these I and I projects. Bucky's been talking about, he was here for years. Gotta do it, we gotta do it. It's gonna save us so much money. But I've not seen how it's saving us or what the calculation is. Will you get these plans to do this? Are you have the scope of what you could have the message going in the system? Yeah, like what, you know.
Go ahead,
Michelle,
Michelle.
you were gonna
You
get
will,
at.
yes, so I appreciate the question. And so I have a twofold answer to that. One, we will see it in the reduced inflow to the WPCF. We'll see it in cost savings from not having a need to increase capacity immediately at our water pollution control facility. This is data we capture on a daily basis. So we will see that reduce over time. We're already seeing reductions from the I&I we've addressed in that system. And I'm happy to share that data with anyone who'd like to see that. But as I said, it's twofold. The other piece of this is development of a formal asset management system.
Michelle, that's great. I mean, that'd be the first time ever we've got something to show what water's not going in the
And,
system that should.
but not only
So-
the routine maintenance.
Yeah, at a subsequent meeting, would you be able to present whatever document you have to be able to track that? So that this board can get a sense? I think it'll make it more valuable for us to understand it and to see results as opposed to just seeing money go out the door. So it'd be great to be able to see that. And like when we have plans, like after you guys come up with the plan, what is the goal after you've done your plan? How much are you gonna reduce it so that we can compare how much it costs to how much we actually reduced 4 years later?
Okay, so maybe I can suggest, Michelle, that when you bring this project forth for a vote, maybe you can plan to incorporate some of that information. And I think part of what you said is that some of this is capital cost avoidance in the future, right? Versus, okay,
Correct.
so that would be helpful. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Other questions for Ms. Gore? Mr. Myers.
I just have a question about the split on the funding for the East Trunk project. So I see on line 186, let's just take year 27, it's $7 million.
186, yep.
So we got 7 million in 27. In the notes, it says 50-50 split. Yep. But then when you come to the first page, it says, page 1, down at the bottom, WPCA funding breakdown, East Trunk Town in 27 is 5750. And then the WPCA is only 1250. So why isn't 50-50?
Ready for this because I asked the same question the other day. Tom
asked me this afternoon, actually. Same
Yeah.
question. WPCA, this was before the WPCA policy. And so the WPCA actually bonded the difference. So with the WPCA money that was already bonded and what's on the current plan, it's a 50-50 split.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Mr. Welsh?
And some of it shows 25%, 75%, some of the projects. And that policy is still being examined, correct, Ms. Charlton?
Yeah.
Like you said, I think at the beginning of the meeting, so that's
Yes.
We
So
have
that,
to vote.
to be determined and voted on by.
I'd love to get that policy back before the board for a vote in the next 2 months. But, you know, in the event that it's not, as I said earlier, that'll be voted on for each individual project.
Guidance.
That work.
It's guidance, and we have to vote on it for each
Yeah.
particular project.
Well, the big one's the facility itself. That's
Agreed.
where the rubber meets the road.
Any other questions for Ms. Gore? Okay,
Can I just make one comment?
Yes.
And Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that the Board of Finance hasn't voted, but the board, WPCA, did vote back in February. And in terms of developing its capital plan, it was developing the capital plan based on those assumptions. And subsequent work for rate study was also just based on that. So very much would appreciate if this board action on it.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Or just for our future planning.
Yeah, we can do it in, well, maybe if we don't get to it in October, maybe the November regular meeting.
Jill, anything else on that?
I don't, thank you.
All right, thank you again, Michelle. All right, so let's move to Board of Ed. Thanks for waiting, you guys. We thought you might want to hear about the sewers first, so that's why we asked you.
I'd like to know if I can flush my toilet.
And the toilets in all the schools too. And the toilets in all the schools.
Exactly.
One at home is.
I don't know, I think they're.
I don't know, if all the toilets are out in the schools, I think
Oh, that would be.
that would not be good for
You
you.
don't want schools without functioning toilet. All right, so if we can take the same approach, but maybe, I don't know if you want to get some of the smaller items out of the way and then we can focus on Dwight since that's the larger item, but I'll leave it up to you. So the non-recurring capital not yet authorized starts on page 8. Do I have that right? Line 148, right?
Just to give a general overview, a lot of these projects are going to look very familiar. The one thing that smaller projects that is bring forward a lot of security vestibule projects, entrance vestibule projects from further out in the. So in terms of the below $1 million, that's the primary difference in the non-recurring capital chunk.
Great, you want to go to over $1 million?
Well, again, not a lot of changes. The board even just last night passed its 26-27 capital non-recurring capital requests, reinforcing the board's desire for the White New Build plus ECC project. Added to that, we also have added the new artificial turf project for Ward, which was something that we also made a request for last year, but decided to hold off for a year. And then the Fairfield Woods Middle School bathroom renovation project is on there as well.
Mr. Matola?
So the board's decided that that's the direction they want to go on Dwight, the all new Dwight School with the CC.
That is the consensus. of
And
the
is
board.
it the building in the back or is it?
So the plan as developed by Svigalis and the working group project was to build a new school sort of into the slope that's on there, not encroaching entirely on the upper field, but to build it directly alongside the current facility, so we wouldn't have to, so the student classes could continue there, not have to send students elsewhere while construction was taking place, which was a major consideration actually that the community too doesn't want that disruption, and there would be cost associated with that.
So tell me, I heard something today, I don't know if I was reading it, maybe it was from an email from a parent there. What's the game plan? When are you gonna bring this forward? funding requests to the various town bodies. Does this have to be that in order to get reimbursement, you have to? Is there any truth to that?
Andy will speak to that.
So we are looking,
You're ready.
we are looking to move this along quickly through the town bodies to get it before the state for the reimbursement before the end of the session, so that we can get considered.
When's the end of the session? Like June or?
No, this special session.
The special session.
I'm not sure
Sorry.
what the time.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but that was the intent, was to do that so we can get it into special session. That is so that we can start the process, state reimbursement. Also some rumor that some of the reimbursement that we could qualify for could sunset or get capped come fall. So that's why we're looking to get this in before that happens.
Okay, and I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. When's the special session over with? Does anyone know?
I don't even think has it
Hasn't
been
even
called?
started yet? So it's going into the next next calendar year.
It goes in the next calendar,
Okay.
yes.
So it's not like have something voted on by November or December of this year.
No, that's not true. We do have to have it.
We do have to,
Right.
yes. Okay.
That is part of all the
Again,
application.
you have to do the application, make sure they get it. Okay.
And again, part of the, part of the calculus, from, obviously, we're looking at the educational standpoint, but I think it's obviously important is the reimbursement percentage for the state. And we would, with the new Dwight, with the ECC on site and some other special programming on site, qualified for several state reimbursements over and above what we were ordinarily get. We want to make sure that while those are still available to us, that the project is qualified for them.
Can I ask you things?
I'll just add to that. My concern is having conversations with colleagues across the state because of the bump up in reimbursement. There's many districts that are looking to get in line. And we want to get as far to the front of that line as possible because similarly to the indoor air quality money, I think there's going to be an expiration date. I don't think the state's gonna have just an open faucet of additional reimbursement dollars.
So
They
that's,
see the number of projects that are gonna come forth.
we're gonna get reimbursed about 50 million and change on this. That's what the thought process is.
Thought process is the additional reimbursement for ECC is 15% of the project.
The whole
The
project.
whole project. And then there'll be some additional percentage for any specialized programs like CLCs that would definitely be part of this.
Is that captured in your reimbursement number?
Yeah, I'm looking at 15 million.
I just ask a question about the date though, just to pin it down. So what's the timeline we're going for? Because what I've heard is that you need to have like your application in, which means we have to have all the town bodies need to approve something basically mid-November so that you can get something in by December 1. Is that correct?
So looking at the town calendar, we backed it out. All the meetings that we are hoping to get onto.
Yeah.
We would have final approval just before, from RTM just before the Thanksgiving break.
And I don't know, I know I had forwarded our board members some of the materials in the meeting link for that meeting. I don't know how, if people got a chance to watch and look at those materials or do we need, someone had asked if we could have a meeting to go through this project before we vote. I think if we want to do that, we need to schedule a special meeting.
Do it.
Okay,
I think it's worth a lot of money.
okay.
So what you're saying is,
Because and let me just clarify, if I understand this correctly, what we'd be getting asked to approve is not seed money, it's the entire authorization. Because you would need the entire authorization to go back to the state and ask for the reimbursement.
The state wants to see that the town is willing to fund the project fully before they will
Okay.
consider it as a project.
and so just so I'm clear on everything. Right? We have the report. We got the report. What's the name of the company?
Spigali.
Bengali or whatever.
Spigali.
So, I would like them to present that to us. I'm not saying the night we necessarily vote. I think we should have a special meeting just for that. I have some questions about. I know you guys did everything too, and I've watched some of that. think this board would appreciate a presentation on what they did. Then we could have, obviously, the meeting where we have to vote on the project.
I would just say about that.
Second that request, Jeff.
That was not a Board of Ed project. That was that was-
No, I get it. Yeah, I didn't, I
We
missed.
can arrange that. I understand.
Well, and
You can
just-
arrange that, right?
Well, we can absolutely, if the Board of Finance wants Fagals to come and present, we can have them present to you before you vote. Just for, back to Mr. Walsh's point at the beginning of the meeting of who puts what on a Board of Selectmen agenda. I've reviewed the report. I went to the Board of Education meeting where Fagals presented. They presented to the Board of Selectmen meeting. From my perspective, the Board of Education has voted twice, so I'm gonna put this on the Board of Selectmen agenda just to get the process moving, and then it'll move to you. Very much appreciate that you have not had the same level of detail, and we'll leave it up to the chair just to kind of plan accordingly so you have the information you need to vote.
Okay. Yeah, so if it makes sense, what I'll do is I'll poll the board for availability. And if we have a special meeting to meet with all the appropriate parties, get an overview of the report, we can ask questions, and then any questions that are outstanding, we can get answers back before the night we vote, which at this point would be likely the November. I mean, because,
Did you say it's due the end of November?
yeah, it may have to be November, because right now we only have, unless we did 2 special meetings, because right now we have a regular meeting on October 7th. So we would have to have, which is 2 weeks away, a week and a half away. So we'd have to have a special meeting between now and then. And then potentially, we could schedule it for the October 7th meeting, otherwise it would be November 5th, so.
When we backed our calendar out, we were looking at your October 7th meeting because there's a gap Thanksgiving at RTM. And to their agendas, but we were gonna motion to get onto your 7th.
So we'll have to see if,
October 7th to vote on the project.
it's either October 7th or a special meeting or November 5th. So, and I think November 5th might, that may cause issues. What's the RTM meeting you're trying to?
I apologize, I didn't bring the calendar. I should have.
We have our.
It's also, the RTM doesn't have a committee meeting in November, so if you're looking at being at our Thanksgiving meeting as a vote, that's a problematic because you're dealing with a completely new board that's completely overwhelmed and uninformed. Honestly, I mean, it's very overstimulating at that first meeting in November. So if there is a way to get it on the October agenda, I would strongly encourage that, because as being passed on that November meeting is just a mess. Say it nicely.
I can get Fagals here.
So we'll have to check with availability of the board. I would like to have the whole board available. So we have to check availability between now and October 7th. And then we would get a presentation and make sure we had any open questions addressed.
And I'm talking about a special meeting just for this issue, nothing else. It'll probably take us 2 hours. It's not gonna be crazy, but just get a presentation so we can ask questions. It'll make the October 7th meeting a lot smoother in my opinion.
I will say, I'll add, we had a special meeting on September 3rd for the Board of Ed, and I expected it to go much longer than it did. One of the things that was helpful for us was they allowed us to submit a lot of questions in advance. So they kind of knew how to respond to a lot of our questions. So I 2 hours can probably do it. I mean, I think that as long as, you know, especially, and you may want to look at our September meeting and see if there are questions that were asked by us that were already answered, that maybe.
That's sweet.
So that'd be next week.
Yeah, or the other thing is that, you know, one of the purposes of this evening is if any board members have any questions they want to put out now, or any input into the conduct of the special meeting or what will be presented in the special meeting. I mean, where we left it last time, for this, I know there's been a lot of other activity. This, where was left with this board was we voted, I don't know, it was close to a year ago on the money for the Spigal study, right? That was going to look at all the different alternatives. So we have not gotten the update on that. So I don't know.
I mean, I have like one thought is that like when we did this last time in the capital planning workshop, a lot of questions came up. Most of them, just looking at the written stuff that we all put in related to, okay, well, why is the ECC have to be at Dwight? Because
Yes, we asked for evaluation of alternatives. Yeah.
as it was presented to us, and this may not have been the intent, but it seemed like we're building Dwight here because we got to build the ECC here. And everyone's like, well, why don't you, there's a million places you could build the ECC. So, I mean, if you guys have seen the report, we've seen the other options. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, are there things, if anyone's.
I don't know if everyone's seen the report or watched the meeting. That's and if they have, they haven't had the opportunity to ask questions. So.
Well, I guess I'll give my own 2 cents on it. I think that a lot of the questions that came up with us that time were addressed, like the ledge question was addressed, the, other iterations of where you can do the ECC were addressed. So to me, I'm looking at it, I just want to be more comfortable in the assumptions that are driving the actual number. I mean, I really don't want to do another meeting if we're going to be like, well, what if we build it here and we put it in Shane's garage? Like, I think we gotta.
Especially to your ECC point, several different ECC scenarios were contemplated in this.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
So, like, those were, those were priced out and considered by our board, and our board decided to move ahead would be, the additions. So that.
Yeah, no,
we're recommending, but there were other options on the table.
I'm just saying, I think that a lot of the questions that we, came up with and that ultimately resulted in the working group doing it were addressed. And now I think it's time for people to either figure out whether they're comfortable with the numbers or not. And I mean, I think your board raised a lot of questions about the numbers, a lot of good questions about the numbers. There's stuff that, I think,
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think we, for lack of a better term, voted to commission this study. And I think we have the right to ask them questions about it. That's all. And I don't think this board's not gonna move on this issue, but I think we have to do our due diligence and just ask some questions. And I know you guys have had presentations. I've read the report. Saw some of your board meetings. I think we should have that opportunity. And again, I don't think it's going to be a long meeting. So
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think it's a good idea, John. I'm just saying, I don't want it to turn into something where.
It's not.
Coming up with new.
If I have a preference where I think an ECC should be, that's really not this board prerogative. It's a financial decision and you've done your due diligence on it, gotten answers based on that report. I just think we should be able to ask a few questions. That's all. Easy.
I think you should have the opportunity to your point. Every option could be thrown out there again.
We're not going to do that.
Discussed it ad nauseum. The
No, but
locations.
I think those questions were out there and that input was taken into account when the RFP was put together to ask Spigal what scenarios they were going to look at. So now we have that report and, certain options were rejected based on feasibility or cost or whatever. And
Correct.
so we can look at that.
Should ask questions just so you feel comfortable and then you can justify your vote.
I guess in terms of timing, since this is time sensitive, the other question may be, should we, perhaps this is a joint meeting? I don't know about the whole RTM, but I'm wondering if.
I can just say the RTM hasn't seen really anything.
Right. Yeah, and exactly. So just like you're here tonight, hearing all of this.
See the presentation and vote, an hour later, right, in that meeting, people are gonna react.
I know your process is a little bit different with the committees, but yeah.
I want to, reemphasize what Selectman Spoliar just said, and that is that we can't vote on this in November. It just doesn't work in terms of the logistics of our meeting. So to do it in October, and I think the benefit of our structure, the RTM structure, is that we have the 2 meetings, right? We have the committee and then we have the regular meeting. And it would probably take both meetings for, I think, everyone to feel comfortable, get through what we have to get through and ask the questions. The question is, can we develop a plan in which it's on our October agenda? will we need a special meeting? I would ideally like to see it be presented to us over the 2 October meetings. That would, I think that's pretty much the only option we have.
Yeah, I guess I was questioning whether we could have some kind of joint meeting.
Joint meeting.
Yeah, joint
Yes.
meeting.
I-
Yeah. So we're saying the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. Can I ask another question about, thank you. I've heard a little bit about air quality in the existing building. I'm not up to date as I'd like to be. So in this scenario where you're building a completely different building, keeping the students in the school for the duration, is there any amount of money that needs to be spent on air quality? Would it be hopefully maybe reimbursable? Is there any?
We had a study done in the spring with Yale School of Medicine. And it is safe for students and staff currently. We did get commended for the amount of time and effort that our staff does in maintaining that building. But they also indicated that it is not conducive moving forward. Putting more money into that building would be reckless at this point.
Necessary to maintain. And then another more general question, we're talking about reimbursements and is there anything happening on the federal level that would in any way across your project would potentially reduce the amount of money that you would be anticipating right now? Nothing.
Not for.
But none of this is federal flow through.
No.
None of it, okay.
Can I clarify? If I look at this I think to your point, John, the 15 million that you have here as the other financial source, that includes all of the ECC and all of these different. So you're talking about getting that full reimbursement.
It's several different types of reimbursement piled on top, yes.
That's the full number. So that there's not more on top of that if we do other things.
No, not unless there's something that, the special session that makes it, an explicit. We could petition for additional reimbursement through the special session. That may be a long shot, but it's possible if there's additional money there, but.
That number go down.
No, for the reimbursement to go up. If we deal with our state delegation,
It'd be where we wouldn't satisfy certain requirements.
Well, I'm just saying it's a possibility. It's not something that I think we should be planning on at this point.
There's 2 priorities with the state right now. The governor's priority is early childhood education. And also there's been a coalition of superintendents, including myself, pushing to try to incentivize districts to build good in-district programs for specialized services like we currently have. We talk every budget season about cost avoidance and our programs and what it saves from outplacement. So that has been the push, and they've responded with higher reimbursement if we can build those programs in-house, and that's what we're looking to do as part of it.
You're confident that'll.
Yes, very confident.
Great. Thank you.
Vitale?
Hi. Just for the school feasibility study, being that it was a town initiative. Part of that was to look at other sites, Lona Terrace being one, to see if that was feasible to reopen as a school. It was determined that it was just putting it out for the public, that it was not, given that it is in a 100-year floodplain, just the condition of the building with the FEMA cap, really not an option. So that was removed from the discussion. The other option we mentioned earlier was the Giant Steps property, whether or not that building could be renovated. It was determined it not. Now, there's discussion about whether or not there needed to be a new build for a one-site ECC. That was left to the Board of Education. They opted not to go that route. We looked at whether or not we could add classrooms at Riverfield Elementary School because that was a centrally located school. It was determined that we could not add there because of wetlands. We looked at Osborne Hill. Also, again, due to location, there was some ability to add ECC classrooms on that site. My understanding from the Board of Ed, concerns about just other needs in that building. And then Jennings, which was on the plan last year about adding ECC classrooms to Jennings. And that's where we are today. And I think that the study was to give better numbers, to understand the options, as well as the renovate like new build at Dwight. Not only to inform decision-making about Dwight, but also to inform decision-making about the direction the district wants to take in terms of its early childhood.
Yeah.
And Jennings.
Great.
So this is not just one school. This is, a 10-year look ahead on the investment that we want to make in our school district moving forward, not only for the population of Dwight, but district-wide.
No, thank you for, I was gonna say that, because I know some of the questions that we had last year when there was a request for seed money was, it seemed, there was, the ECC strategy didn't seem to be as, what's the right word for it? I'm not sure there was full consensus on but it seemed like there were still a bunch of discussions and, there was a Jennings plan attached, but not everyone seemed to be comfortable with it at the time. So there were some dependencies on those things that hadn't been fleshed out. So I think as we have the conversation at the next meeting, I think that's important. Just to Ms. Vitale's summary there, this is really more about the whole district and making sure that we're not taking on obviously one costly project in isolation, but this is part of a broader
Right, just be-
strategic look at.
To be very specific, the ECC plan anticipates 5 classrooms at
Yeah.
Dwight, 5 classrooms at Jennings. So if we opt to not do Jennings, we're not fulfilling the plan that we have for the ECC.
Right, well, that was my point. That's why it's, to Ms. Vitale's point, it's just,
I just wanted to funnel it down.
hopefully this report and the conversation that we have gets into that.
Where's Jennings on the report here? Am I missing
It's,
it? What line?
it's out,
180.
Oh, right.
yeah, so it's out in 2030.
Can I ask a question about that line?
Yes,
So I tried to cross-reference this line 180 to the Spagals report. And for Jennings, it's the concept 2A standard renovation plus addition for ECC North. Construction cost of $35,980,000. But yeah, we have 49 million. So what did we change from what Spagali's presented to us to get from 35 to 49?
Here's the hub of that, is that the scenario that was outlined in, like, for Svigals to evaluate was to do a standard renovation of buildings, make sure that, as we've done with other buildings, not add any new space to Dwight other than the 5 ECC classrooms. However, our long-range capital plan that we passed in June of 2024 had identified multiple deficiencies with that school. So there are additional spaces that we would need to add to that school to bring it up to current standards throughout the district. So the Svigals scenario didn't anticipate adding those additional deficient spaces to Jennings, which is why we needed to adjust that number higher. So if we're gonna work on that building, we should come out at the end with all of its deficiencies rectified and the ECC added on. And that's the difference between the Svigals report.
Well, they had a misunderstanding of the full scope to upgrade that.
Right, it just,
Gave you these numbers.
it's a broader, it needs to be a broader project, but that's not what Svigals was contracted to evaluate.
So who did the actual, who came up with the estimate of 49 million?
That went through our facilities committee, and Mr. Bob George would be able to talk about that.
Yeah, so we use Svigal's estimates for square footage go out, and we use the Dwight ed spec for the square footage for the deficiencies to come up with the total square footage and numbers that Svigal's used so that we would be in line with Svigal's report.
Okay, so that would be part of what we talk about in our special meeting.
All right, so just one thing here. The 15 million you're getting back on the White, is that hinged again to Jennings? That you're doing that ECC project?
Correct. It will increase the reimbursement for Jennings as well.
So both those projects need to be done in order to get that.
To get approval for those, correct?
no, we're not gonna be voting on Jennings.
You're not, right.
We're not doing both projects in the same timeframe.
If you look at Jennings is out.
Yeah, we gotta do Jennings in order to get the refund.
So the reimbursement is per project.
Per project.
The 15 million is solely for the Dwight project.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get it if you don't do the Jennings project, right?
You do.
You do.
It would. This project for Dwight would qualify.
Yeah, Dwight is a standalone with the extra reimbursement. Jennings will be a standalone with the extra reimbursement on that project. Just to clarify, the deficient spaces was calculated, again, using the ed specs. So those additional square footage multiplied by the dollar amount that that Svigal's had incorporated with an addition onto Dwight. So the number's pretty solid.
Mr. Penley.
I have a question. Ms. Vitale reminded me of everything that the capital projects group looked at, and there was, you know, different versions they were looking at, including the new build at Dwight. And I'm, you know, looking forward to going in and sit with Svigal and hearing from them and moving forward. But I am curious why you guys ended up on the 1F building into the wall and not the original idea that you guys came up with, which seemed really basic and simple. And I know that their numbers are a little bit different the way they got there, but it's also cheaper. Like the original thing that Silver Petroselli came up with was a little bit less expensive. They're almost spot on. We're almost kind of where we started. But before we go to the meeting where we're gonna, you know, move forward here, why did you guys?
Just
Yeah,
touch base on that. The original report we had was a very high level conceptual thought about build a building on the grounds there. Svigal's numbers are a deeper dive into that conceptual design to figure out the best place for location, the best utilization of the space. Plus, there were some hardships with building up on the top for emergency vehicle response, for instance. There's no access to that point down all the way up from the road level. So there was a lot of that was considered when they chose a location for the building. And I wouldn't compare the number from the original report to Svigal's report as a difference. Because again, the original report was a very high level schematic look at what would it cost to drop a square box in this location. There was no detail put into it, no traffic studies, no look at the water flow, no look at traffic flow. So this is why the report that Svigal's came up with is a much deeper look.
You know, when you get to speak to Svigal's, they'll give you a better explanation as to location on the property, the way they designed it or conceptualize it with drop-off loops, with preserving some of the play space. And it really sheds a lot of light. They also utilize part of the hill.
I watched
sustainability.
Yeah, I think I just want to get, I wanted to come out that you guys, that this is the better version of it. And I guess the other thing I want to get at is that there weren't other things that were choosing, that were compelling you to build on the side of a hill, like preserving a field, for example.
Well, I mean, that was, you know, as Superintendent Testani said, like that was actually a theme that came up in the working group.
Yeah.
That obviously, the town, Parks and Rec are interested in not losing fields. That wasn't a driving decision, but, you know, in terms of, the siting considerations that Svigal's brought up, just overall and the depth of analysis in their report, it was very convincing.
By building into the hill, it also allows for the ECC to have a ground level entrance on the second floor. So it's an amazing concept they came up with there.
Yeah, I don't need to debate the concept. I just want to know that there's confidence that the board, because I know that you weren't necessarily in favor of this working group, that you guys had your own process that was resistant to it. So I just wanted for the public to hear that the board is confident in this project and that this is what you want to go forward and that this is going to satisfy the educational needs and the Board of Ed is behind it.
I mean, just to speak for my members, I think that this report ultimately just reinforced what the consensus on the board was for a new build. And having kind of a more detailed look at the site and at possibilities with the structure itself. Yes, I think that, again, we came out of this, I think, more focused on the new build than even Silver Petroselli base.
I mean, I was glad too to see, I'll just say, my last comment is even as high level as the Silver Petroselli conceptual design was, we've now had a couple people come back and get pretty darn close to the same number for.
So I thought it was 65 million.
No, it's It's about after the reimbursement, it's.
Not after, no, not after.
All right, 65, 75, so $10 million.
That's pretty darn close.
Well, I will say though, that
I'm
the
glad we did this.
new design adds some square footage.
Yeah, but.
So it's not apples to apples.
Well, I'm just saying,
This was well worth it.
It was-
And the other thing I'll say is, you get comments, and I say this all due respect from the public, that what we did delayed everything. That is not true, because we would have wanted answers to these questions anyway. So this was well worth it. It was the right thing to do. And I think we're all gonna be much more comfortable on October 7th when we vote on this. That's where we want to be. So that's said, sorry, I'm.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
And
Well,
I don't wanna jump on your comment about, I understand where you're coming from with that, and I very much do, but like, having done this, our board is very eager to act. And the Dwight community is very eager to act. So
I get it.
backing up from that October
No.
7th, I want to throw that.
I get it. I agree with you.
Right.
Can I ask a question about other,
Oh, sure.
well, we also have some rather large items for the high schools for air conditioning. I mean, when I looked at those numbers, I didn't know if we were building new schools or if we were just, what are we doing for air conditioning?
Putting air conditioning where there's none in each of those buildings.
So it's not like redoing all the air conditioning, it's just this, that just seems like a lot of money, no?
It's targeted to the current spots that do not have air conditioning.
There's a significant lack of air conditioning of square footage of those buildings.
I mean, 40 million, you could probably ask the teachers if they'd rather have that $40 million for air conditioning than the students. I mean, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but look, I've said this a bunch of times, like, we're also an employer. Talk about the teachers. I mean, are you air conditioned where you work? Like a lot of our teachers
work from home.
Air conditioning. No, but I mean, I think we need to think about it in a lot of different ways. That, it's become the standard. It's become the standard. It's also a health and safety issue, maintenance of the building issue. So our board, again, years ago now, was unified forward as a multi-phase project. We wait out to get it in fewer phases, but I'll also add that some of these numbers that are in this waterfall are significantly lower than they were in last year's waterfall.
Well, just as a point of comparison, we're doing air conditioning now at what's
North Stratford.
how much does it cost at Fairfield Woods? I just don't remember it being this.
And it's not simply air conditioning anymore. What we learned is, one thing we learned through COVID, it's about circulating fresh air into the building.
Fresh air.
Create a much more, safer environment for folks. It does make sense. It's a big number, but.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you have, I hear you. I think you have to look at does it extend or the life of the building as well? Because that's been one of the issues here. I don't think these buildings were meant to field up the way they are now.
They
With all
absolutely
the
were not.
safety considerations.
We used to be able to open windows.
Exactly. We used to do that before we
designed
started
for that.
bringing our shootings. We had,
Yeah, I went to Roger Sherman and we'd open up the door that went out to the outside. For those days,
Remember, John.
I vaguely
It
remember.
worked out okay, though. It came out.
It's not about us, it's about the nuts that are out there who might come in and do something. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So sticking this project in there at $75 million, Madam. What has had to move here? Explain to me what has had to move last year, this year, to this, move around.
Well,
Your numbers have drastically, like, even if you go to the change page, if we go to this page on page 13, you've added $26 million of projects. Plus, actually, it's just total PLE. Add $28.2 million worth of projects. What has had to change? Like, you can move things around, right, for the waterfall? I want to know everything that's changed since the last time we did this. What changed? Did air conditioning get pushed back? Did anything?
You want to walk through
back-
the change sheet line by line?
What?
Shall we walk through the change sheet?
Yeah, I'd like,
Why don't we do that? Okay, so that is on page,
This starts on page 17.
okay, so it's page 17. So again, this is as of February, so. Now this is,
what line up?
All the way down at the bottom is the first page, line 174 is the first change. Line 166 to 173 have no change.
so, but this is just total project cost. This doesn't address lifetime, right?
That's correct,
Because I think Mr. Walsh's question also went through.
What got moved?
Yeah.
That always happens.
So there's two pieces.
Very aware.
Okay.
So things on.
So the two pieces are yeah, so just to keep it in sequence. So we have the aggregate changes to the plan. And then we have changes in timing, or not, right? So why don't we just, I think, Jim, your question went, the number you referenced, you were looking at the aggregate changes to the plan, what the plan has increased by since February. So why don't we start with that? We can, I don't know if you want to hit on the large items there.
And some of the things that moved up sooner were the security vestibules.
But those were on there. Can we just maybe start with the total increases to the plan, which I think are in those orange columns, and then we could talk about timing, if that's okay?
Right down that line.
So we are on page 17. So on page 17, we have the current plan on the left, we have the last plan in the middle, and then the orange columns are the delta between the two plans, and there are some comments there on the right-hand side.
I'm sure it's the column right after the orange. It's called net project cost.
Yeah, I'm
difference.
sorry, that's the, right, next to the orange, I apologize. And then the comments are right there, so yes. So I don't know who wants to, do you want to, Eli or Mike, or who wants to go through this?
Yeah, so with the first one is 174, light tower project. There was an increase of 584,649.
So 174 is the line item you're referring to.
Yeah.
The light tower project was for the Ward High School lights. These line, we had the Ward lights being the exception because that was the emergency.
That was approved already, right? So we
Yeah.
don't-
We're going
we don't
over
really have to-
authorized.
Yeah, we don't have to do the authorized, okay.
It was 211, I think, you started.
So 211.
Line 2. From capital.
Yeah.
So 211 is the Burr entrance vestibule project.
That was up on the waterfall. Right.
Well, it's got a net project cost difference though.
It's moved forward, but it's more expensive.
It's moved forward, it was more expensive, the price was increased based on our experience with the three that we are currently doing. And we were able to come back with better numbers after February.
So that's going to apply to every vestibule, basically.
That was adjusted to the vestibules, yes, some. We're currently doing North Stratfield, Woods and Osborne, so we were able to utilize the better numbers from the current construction projects to identify where we were short for moving the additional 5 that are in the plan for this year.
Going down,
Let me just ask you a question, these vestibules. We did upgrade the vestibules a while back.
We updated all the buildings that have had construction projects done in them.
Yeah.
For instance, Hollandale, Mill Hill, Riverfield, all have the standard that we are going to with the additional ones now.
Okay. All right.
commercial placement. $70,000.
And lines 215 and 216 below that, what are those? They don't have a label on the
Why is
left.
it added to Dwight in the comment? I don't understand what that means.
260, 260.
One location two. Where's that for? Location one, location two, I apologize, there's no building on here, but I believe those were the ECC temporary housing that when we were looking at possibly moving into temporary housing at Mona Terrace. That was to outfit the space so that it would be utilized for an ECC program. Last year, it was divided when it first went onto the waterfall as two different locations. Over the year, it was combined to one. We left the second and just combined the pricing for Mona Terrace, and now we've removed it completely from the waterfall. The additional cost for the Ludlow High School roof was the next one you had said. That went up in price because it was shifted out 5 years. So that's what the increase is. It was an escalation for moving it out.
Why was it put off for 5 years?
Because it was determined, we looked at it, and as you said, we were trying to make some room where we could, and we did an evaluation of it. We had our roofing contractor, PM contractor come out and do an evaluation of the Ludlow roof and the Ward roof. And we felt at this time that we're comfortable moving them out. They're performing very.
How does that work, our warranties on those roofs? Are we gonna be out of warranty? Maybe it's 5 years.
I will get you the warranty date specifically, but
We don't wanna be out of warranty. You always tell us that. So we can't move the goalposts. Like, if we want warranties, we're paying for warranties when we have them. I'm presuming you are gonna have us fully warranted during that period of time.
we can look at, let me get the expiration for warranty and I will get back to you with an answer on that.
Okay.
And we also have the opportunity working with our preventative maintenance contractor to extend the warranty if need be, based on how well it's performing. We'll be able to get the.
Yeah, so any costs that really, you extend something, but it comes with a cost. It should be worked in numbers.
So anything that we've moved out, we use in our waterfall, we use an 8% escalation. So anything that's moved out, it's moved, like that would move 5 years, so it's 8% escalation per year. And if it's a multi-year project, we base the cost on the center year of the project.
The 8% is on price escalation,
Price
does not include warranties.
does not include the warranty on
Okay,
that.
so what I'm saying is, I think, come to us with this stuff, when you move things around.
Yep.
And there's something other than an escalation clause.
Yep.
That cost has to be in here. And in these numbers, because we. It's a cost.
Yep, no, I understand.
The next 218. You'll get back to us on that one.
218 is an additional project, the front parking lot at Ludlow Middle and Ludlow, you'll see later on Ludlow Middle, but also Ludlow High School needs to be repaved. It's not in good shape right now, and we're anticipating after the winter season, it's gonna be even in worse shape to create some hazards.
And that's a project for.
Fiscal 27.
7.
For next summer.
Yeah. Okay. Fire alarm replacement. See, these dollar numbers, I know you don't have them. This causes us to budget them because I don't really know the numbers and your numbers are now not accurate. Because we don't know whether they'll fit into the waterfall.
Which one are you referring to, Jim?
So the
19.
fire alarm,
Fire alarm replacement 19, there's a couple of these sprinkled through. Which I was gonna bring up when we go back to the other thing, but I asked you to handle this, so I'm respecting that. But that's. When are we gonna have those numbers? Because
so the.
I don't know whether they're talking about $10,000 cost or $1 million cost.
So the fire alarm one specifically for Roger Ledlow Middle School was already allocated and bonded for last year. It's a
Okay.
project, it's in progress right now, so I believe it was a calculation error. And it was double calculated in this report.
So that should not be here.
It should not be there.
Okay. That's good to know. All right, the next one. Another roof replacement?
That's the other, like I said, we moved low and board out, so that's, and I will get the warranty information for you on that one as well.
The next one's the security vestibule again at Bridger Woods High School.
The ECC, the
ECC board.
At Ward, ECC board entrance, that was an add to the waterfall. It was not on there previously. We had all the schools identified that ECC has its own entrance at Ward and should have its own security.
Yeah, what year is that gonna be put in?
We put that in.
Put that in
27.
27 too, okay. Okay. Jennings?
Jennings
Same thing, it shouldn't be there.
It was out in the year and it was pulled forwards to 20. And again, the price was adjusted based on the estimate, based on the cost of current projects.
Well,
So there's no
it should
number
be
there.
there. It's just a
Oh, I
it's a
apologize.
timing
Jennings
change.
Jennings is a placeholder because there's talk about the moving the project. The construction project would handle that if
You putting a placeholder of $1 in there?
the dollar, I apologize, the town pulled the dollars off of our waterfall. Our waterfall needs an amount to hold a year in there. So that's why we put $1 on there, just so it holds the year.
What year is that gonna be? You don't know.
We're anticipating not doing that. The Jennings project would move forwards after the Dwight project, so it would be incorporated
Rolled
into
into
that.
it.
Yes.
In the 20, so that cost is in the 2030 cost for Jennings?
Yes, it is, it is already,
Okay, so that can be, that line action can be.
could be removed.
Okay, okay. 23. 23. Vestibule. Did that get moved around at all?
I moved up.
Moved up, okay.
Correct.
So it's moved up, but it's more expensive. And you said this is based on,
Based on actuals that we're doing at the other locations, right?
All right, and then the fire alarm, 2 fire alarm upstates were at 225, line 226.
Those again have a $1
Yeah.
placeholder on them. Speaking with the building committee for the Osborne and North Staff projects, they believe that what happened is during those projects, we've identified some issues with the fire alarm. More issues have arisen during the project. So, the building committee is looking at if their budget would allow for them to do this project. I'm hearing indication that they believe it will. That's why we held it as $1 on there, but we're hopeful that it's gonna come off completely.
Okay, for both of them, you think?
All 3 of them, you'll see what's on there.
Okay. So 227 is the fire, another fire alarm replacement, that's based on years.
Done now.
It was already part of the
Already bought it, okay. And Roger Ludlow.
The parking, that's the park.
That's the other parking lot,
Okay. Sherman vestibule project.
another vestibule that was moved up.
Okay. Stratfield.
Vestibule.
Vestibule.
I mean, 230, Stratfield, HVAC.
230 and 231 have no changes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Those are the buildings.
Yeah. Okay, now we get into the over $1 million project. Okay, so the first one is Dwight, it's higher than the placeholder you had last year.
Yeah.
You have more accurate information.
Correct.
And Fairfield, Ludlow High School air conditioning. It's an $8.3 million price differential.
Yes, it went down.
Oh, that's
No,
the,
no, that's the renovation project, our new ECC
Oh, I'm
port. That was
sorry.
part of Dwight, which we removed from this
sorry.
one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Ludlow, I'm reading it from the wrong line. So it's a $5.8 million increase? Decrease?
No, it's an increase because of a
oh,
decrease
decrease
in
in
other
grants.
finance. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so explain that, so explain the loss of the source, the state's not funding that to the level they were?
The state is funding it to the level that was authorized when it was originally proposed. Then when it went out for design development, there was some, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the project. We're talking about Ludlow High School.
Yes.
That is, so the project, when we first did the three in phase one that we're doing now, there was a grant awarded to us for those three projects. Since then, air conditioning and indoor air quality projects were not considered reimbursable by state grants, by the state. They are now, so now we have standard reimbursement rates on those projects.
That's a pretty large jump.
It was a large jump. It was, and we've also gone from schematic design to design development.
Yeah.
And the building committee is still continuing to work through those numbers. Tomlinson, which is currently bonded now, it was the most accurate, and Ludlow is the next that they are working at going from design development to design work.
Okay, has this been moved, this project?
It was right where it
Same,
was.
still in the same years.
Same years, just getting better numbers as they work through design development.
Not good numbers.
Not good.
All right, the artificial turf replacement.
So is that a real number, that artificial turf replacement?
The artificial turf replacement is a real number. It went back and forth. It was a lower number last year. We've done some more research on it since then. It was kind of, I don't want to say a quicker number last year, but we were able to dig in more by holding it off and get better numbers on it. We've worked with a company that does other towns and other turf fields in our town to come up with that number.
What's the feeling about like soil testings? Because we had a lot of problems with that.
There is a contingency there for soil test, for the soil remediation if needed. So to keep in mind is this field would not be getting as much removed as like the RLMS. So there's not it's already a level playing field. There's less retainage that has to be done, like dig out things that has to be done. And the type, if for God forbid it were to be the same type of soil in RLMS, it could be used underneath the new turf. It just couldn't be moved off-site without being disposed of properly.
And just, should that 800,000 be a negative number? Is that a savings?
No.
No, one for 1.5.
Oh, is that 2.3 now?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right. And then let's talk about the Fairfield Ward High School. Yep. So it's about a $1.2 million decrease? No, because of the sources again.
Increase.
Increase because of the decrease in state reimbursement.
We also
And-
push that out a year, right?
Does that change the timing?
Flipped it with Walter.
With Walter Fitzgerald, I apologize, we did do that. We took Walter Fitzgerald and put it for Ward, because it's a smaller project. We were trying to give kind of a lull between the ending of Ludlow and the start of Ward.
Fairfield Ward students are happy about that.
I don't talk about that in front of my niece,
They
so
gotta wait. All right, so how many years was that pushed off?
it was pushed out 1 year.
Just 1 year? Okay. All right, and then the new window project, small change. And that's the same thing, reimbursement levels?
The windows was because we looked at, again, better numbers. As we see materials pricing, we try to keep it as updated as possible. Costs, the current costs out there.
It says decrease in other financing.
Yeah, so in the February plan, we had a reimbursement of 1.535.
Yep.
And then in the new plan, we have a reimbursement of 1.514.
Okay. And the bathrooms, that's a good guy. We did a reduction, right, in costs, $59,000. Better cost estimates.
Better costs us.
All right, and then Jennings, it's an $360,000 increase of what you had, correct?
That's the project.
And that includes an ECC there? And then the start date of that, has that changed?
It did not move years on our waterfall.
Okay. All right. And what's this removal? Is that the previous cost? Why is there a?
Yeah, it was originally 7.3 million for Jennings as additions in ECC, which was removed because it was replaced by the Jennings line item.
Understood. And then Osborne Hill. Pretty large increase.
Osborne Hill is a large increase because it was not listed on our waterfall. However, with the 10-year facilities plan that the board voted on, there is deficiencies there and we didn't want to lose sight of it. It is out there for years, but we didn't want to just have it floating out there. We wanted to give it a home in the waterfall.
I know you're the expert in this area, but it seems like we've done Osborne Hill, like continually done work there. Like you just seem to have built a school twice over. Something like that. What's that all about? How does that even happen?
I actually have not been in this town during a single construction project at Osborne. I don't.
But you know some have been done.
I know things have been done there.
I think you and I are just getting old because I thought.
I just feel like Osborne Hill's
We just
done every
did
3
it.
years. Like.
Probably like 25 years ago.
Should have done more.
Work stuff, adding.
You should have done more.
Yeah,
The annex was added on. There has been patchwork done there. But my understanding is it used.
So the.
Central office from
Central
maybe one
office.
to-
If you're approving a new roof on a school again, that means you've been here a long time.
Yeah, we've been here.
Okay. So $9.2 million change there. That's out.
Yeah, I can see.
Yes,
That was just added.
that was just, the project itself was just added based on the deficiencies in the 10-year facility.
And then the next one is, sorry, it's Tomlinson.
Very hard to read.
Tomlinson boiler burner replacement, just
No change on that.
no change on that.
That one's 80.
Okay, I'm just getting lost in my life.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm having such a hard time today on that.
so 9, there's one that's for 932.
That's the
That's the ADA.
Yeah, ADA invest.
And vestibule, we identified, that's the vestibule project like the other one.
Yes.
But because of the building and the way it fits, it's gonna do a ADA study and accessibility as well as part of that. There is no good way to access that building. The back entrance of that building puts you on a stairwell landing, you either have to go up or down. You all know, front, driving by that building, it feels like you step.
Having gone there.
Yes.
You're still standing. Okay, and then the next one is Office of Gerald AC. We talked about that was gonna move that. Get the taxpayers. Okay.
I thought we had one of the HVAC projects that was that decreased substantially. Am I dreaming that up or was that already incorporated in February?
It was, I believe it was already incorporated.
Yeah, year over year it's
Yeah.
low. Not.
But not since
not
February.
February.
We had already figured that out.
And significantly low.
Yes, it was.
29?
Something like that.
Yeah.
26, I think.
Yeah, I was.
So I think I know the answer, but let me ask. So moving up and focusing on getting 20 mil. Air conditioning dollars because of years that it's the ward projects being put back, only 1 year though. So it would be a % increase, is that?
The building committee provides those numbers to us, so I would have to find out what escalator they use for their project. Okay. On the board side, we use an escalator.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, do we tell the building committees what the escalation should be? Or we do not?
We do not, and mainly because they they already have under contract with them, architects and engineers. So their architects and engineers are specifically looking at not so much an overall building project that we look at, they're actually looking at equipment costs, that specific equipment costs escalations are doing when they come with their numbers.
For HVAC equipment, is the building committee reporting with tariffs? I know that in the past we've had problems getting HVAC parts from China overseas. Is that leading into any escalation for some of these numbers? Do you know?
They are taking that into account when they are working through the numbers. As I mentioned, they're in design development for Ludlow High now. When as that gets closer to design, it will look at the values again at that point. Design the building.
Also just, I guess, timing also, just looking back that we were having problems getting parts, that it was just taking. Is that still an issue or we feel like
It's getting better, but there are still delays. Switchgear is still a big delay on switchgear, so. Other parts as well as somehow from some of our security upgrades, there's delays on those as well.
Ms. Lisma?
Thank you. So air conditioning is my favorite example of what happens when you defer difficult decisions on expensive capital projects. And we see that every time we look at the waterfall, maybe we forget about it. The other risk that's really reckless is mold. And if you know anything about what it costs to mitigate mold, you've seen it in Stanford. I mean, we got ourselves in this position by a lot of bad decisions. So my question is, when you're pushing even a year out, do you have any way to gauge when the environment of a school is more prone to mold, where you may want to delay the air conditioning project for a year or so?
Continuously monitor all the air in all the buildings, and we identify hotspots where mold could be a potential, and we treat and we use dehumidification where needed. So we always monitor. And I'll tell you the best way to monitor is the staff in the buildings. They tell us it's warm in an area or it gets very musty in an area, then we investigate a way to find out. We've had that issue in a couple schools. And putting air conditioning in a building is a great way to mitigate that, but in the same token, we have issues with air conditioned buildings where there's sometimes where an air conditioning unit goes down and people are comfortable, so they don't report it. So we've had to clean up throughout the district from time to time, but we react quickly to situations like that. And we always look at, and if we do have a report and we do identify some treat, we clean, and then we do air tests with our consultants to make sure we are keeping everyone safe and healthy in the buildings.
Great, thanks. I mean, especially now, as Mr. Mottola said, we live in an era now where you can't open any part of a school building, which is kind of absurd, but it's where we are. Thank you.
I don't want to jump on this too much, but I do want to specify that the Board of Ed was hoping to get this done much faster.
Oh, I know.
And that this, this schedule and Sally we've come before this panel for years asking for a comprehensive district-wide, mechanical means of fresh air. But in a negotiation conversation with the town, it would spread into these 5 phases. So obviously we would prefer to do things as quickly as possible, but it's in this discussion that we've come to those decisions, not because it was the will of the board to things out.
Understood.
Yeah, but you also, all due respect, I don't want to start a fight here.
Nothing good ever.
I think we've approved everything that's ever.
I'm gonna say something and then maybe Dwight was, and I'm about to leave because I have another commitment, but Dwight was on your waterfall chart for years and years and years. And you never really pushed it until about a year or so ago. So
It's true.
so that's kind of what's kind of skewed things here a little bit. That's all. And I'm not being critical, but I don't want there to be an impression. I'll stop right.
I wasn't trying to make any accusations. All I wanted to say was that the air conditioning schedule is a product of negotiation from all town bodies.
It is, and I appreciate that, but
I just want to add to this, add to the general comment here of all this stuff. it's not just education that was deferred. Like the WPCA had problems for a long time. That's $140 million. That's the biggest cost here. So, I mean, let's not lose sight of that. Like that's really what's driving this stuff, and absolutely kicking the can on stuff like this. But, this is where we are, and we gotta push forward.
To me, the most important thing is, I've said this to you, is the big picture, right? We're within our bonding policy. We have an idea of what we need to do. It's expensive, yes, but we're able to do it and we're gonna do it. So that's how I kind of look at this. Right?
Yeah. We've dealt with mold, cost us $26 million to build.
That's right. I was on the building committee. So the advice was we
Do it with bleach.
exactly. And the expert said you could clean McKinley, but Thomasopoulos at the time, first selectman, said, we get one complaint from a kid at McKinley, we're doomed. Tear the building down and build a new
Too
school.
old of a building. It was the right thing to do. We did low money
Right thing.
for it now. Now we're paying $75 million, not $26 million.
No.
Let's go.
I have a quick question, just circle back real quick to Dwight. You had mentioned something with Fairfield Ludlow that got me thinking with the 15 million that you're anticipating to be another financial source with the grant to be refunded. When do we know along those lines that we'll receive that? Like, when do we know that we might not get that, or it might be changed based on the course of the state's regulations?
So it's a process, it's a long process. Once the building is accepted by the Board of Education and completed, we file for, to the state that it's completed. And they have, I believe it's 3 years to do an audit of the project. And then that could take, it could take another 3 or 4 years for them to get through their audit process. And then a check is issued to the town. And I know, so we're in the audit process now of Holland Hill, which is that's been done for several years now. We haven't even started the audit process yet.
So the town floats the money, basically.
Yes.
So I feel like we have the 20 allocated for each year, but then we would be covering that additional 15 until it returned. Okay, thank you.
One more question before I hit.
Yeah, that's why and it's a good question, because it's worthwhile to, especially with these very large reimbursements, seeing how because we do have to finance that. And unless we're gonna.
Do we have a Dwight building committee yet? We do, okay.
Yeah, it'll be approved by the RTM on the 29th.
Okay, so we'll be ready to rock and roll as soon as everything's approved.
Yeah, we're getting everything in line so we can, pending board approval of this, move it forward with the state. We're probably gonna need special legislation because the deadline to get on the priority list was June, which we missed that. So we can still move it forward, but we need to act. I think that to Mr. Testani's point about just districts lining up in terms of this extra reimbursement for ECC space and the extra reimbursement for special education space, we don't want to delay. We learned that. We were, for the HVAC projects, we were at the front of the line. We were proactive with that and just trying to be proactive.
A lot of districts that have
Yeah.
projects in the queue ready to go and.
Well, October 7th is 12 days from now.
Yeah, you can't move any quicker.
We have to schedule a special meeting and include RTM representatives and everything. We need to figure that out.
Much appreciated. We could schedule a special meeting to vote too, right?
True. Yeah. You're not gonna let me go out easy, huh? I said I only have 2 meetings after this. Now it's gonna turn into 4.
Speaking of going out, good evening, thanks.
Just your flight.
Hopefully only 4.
Your time. All right. Any other questions for Board of Ed?
No, this is a Board of Ed question, but we talked about Monaterra's there. So we don't know what's going to happen when that lease expires. It's obviously not going to be ECC, but kind of a more general question. So that building needs pretty serious remediation as well. We don't know how we're going to repurpose it. It could be the health department. It could be something. So when that comes.
Is that, that's not on here, right?
No, but when that does come back to us as a town, then all the evaluation is cost, remediation, do renovations, and then it gets plugged into capital.
That we would. I think that there's some other looking forward with the Turner site and which needs to be used for recreation. But there is money for Mona Terrace in here and future projects or improvements in Mona Terrace.
Okay, that's what I couldn't tell.
Would need to be worked in. And you know, this is a follow-up in terms of whether or not the school district needs Mona Terrace temporarily for ECC programming. There's discussions on that. There, an MOU went before the Board of Selectmen at the beginning of August. It got voted down at that particular meeting. I think there was some maybe not clear that we were not the board, correct me if I'm wrong, the board was not looking for a long-term solution for the ECC or permanent home. It was more of a temporary solution to deal with some overcrowding in other schools.
Right.
So that's going to be a conversation I'm willing to continue with the Board of Ed if it needs to come back to the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
It's not Ed. Do you want me to wait until?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
So with the P O C D, hopefully, if the cities, getting towards home plate. I know you sometimes look at commercial or private property to acquire, and we do have a housing for the acquisition of homes or properties. But what if, for instance, we had wanted to acquire and let's say it had a market value of $7 million. Now, I'm sure somebody's looking at properties that we may or may not want to purchase. We don't like to take things out of the tax rolls, but where would that fall into some? Is there?
I mean, I don't think I can answer. It's never come before us, so as a possibility. I think, the only thing I can think of that we've done remotely like that is we provided some funding for the new Operation Hope site, obviously very small.
Right.
It was 350.
That loan, that 300.
So we did, and we asked some questions about that, but we were able to get bonding for that. And, but in terms of the town acquiring a parcel of land, we've acquired parcels of land for some other things too. I think for some of the flooding mitigation.
Right.
But that one has nothing large like that would be commercially developed. It's been put forth, so.
Wanted to do another finding tree or something like that. I mean, it would just obviously at some point have to come into a funding scenario.
I haven't heard anything like that. Other questions? Motion to adjourn? All right. Thanks.
I've
never banged that gavel. I've been my time.
Why do you